to prepare the budget. The workshop is for the benefit of the board members. So anybody who's just viewing in, will ask you to hold any questions until tomorrow, till we have the board meeting. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started.
Am I up?
Yeah.
Okay. Waiting for it to come up there. Yeah,
There we go.
there we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time seeing that. Well, I don't have to see it. I don't have to see it. It's right here.
Yeah.
All right, let me shrink this down. All right. Okay, what you're looking at, everyone, is the Excel workbook that we use to develop our budget year over year, same one we've been using for years. I'll go over the format of it so you know what, there's a lot of numbers on here, so I'll go over the format of it so you get a feel for what's going on. The first column is the okay, there you go. Okay, so the first column, column C, is this current year's budget as was developed last year at this time. Column D is what we've spent on each line item in that budget year to date, and that's through October 31st. Then column E is what we have determined is our best guess of what we'll spend in November and December to finish out the year. And then the total of columns D and E is here in column F. Then we take a look at that and determine what things where we've spent money on, where we've gone under budget, where we've gone over budget, and what we'll do for 2022. And the proposed budget for 2022 is in column G. Items, there's highlighting, color highlighting on some of these cells. Anything in yellow is kind of high priority importance to have discussion on, get it squared away, and it could be areas that we're out of line on and may want to make adjustments on in order to get this budget to come into acceptability. Anything with this light blue highlighting are note items or items that we should probably talk about. And then anything in this orange highlighting are changes I made since I sent this out day before yesterday. I think it was day before yesterday to the board. And so this won't match up exactly if you've printed out a copy of yours or if you've got it on your computer or wherever. Anything in orange won't match up exactly with what you have on yours because I made a slight change to it and I wanted you to be able to see that. For instance, on this one right here that I'm looking at, service and security desk, that number 60,426 actually should be 55,426 because Elisa sent me a change on that. So we'll make that change as we go through this. So we're going to go through this line by line. I'm going to explain each line, and then the board can either have discussion about that particular item then, or we can table it for later, and I can highlight it on this, and then we can talk about it later or tomorrow even. These first two lines here, beginning balances, these are surpluses that we we expect to have from the current year's operation. We used to budget these items. You can't really do that according to general accounting principles, but we used to look at those and put them in the budget as a note item. We don't do that anymore. So right now we have $20,000 expected to be surplus for 2021, which our new policy since last year, or since this year, is to immediately transfer any surpluses into reserves. So $20,000 will be transferred into reserves from the operating budgets, and $125,000 will be transferred into reserves from the 2021 surplus in the capital projects budgets. Currently, this figure, 275,000, is what we expect to draw from reserves in order to support this budget. That number will probably change as we move through this. Assessment fees to owners account 400. This number, I'm going to click to another page right now. And if we go to the bottom line in our, this is right now, what you're looking at right here, all the way at the bottom, is the bottom line in our budget. 2,861,517 is the current budget. It would take 2,397,117 to zero it out, and where that zero out would happen is right here. So that number will stay at zero until we finish hashing this budget out, and then whatever is down here in this cell will be transferred to that cell here, and that'll zero out the budget. It'll be a balanced budget. So now we get into the individual line items. These are all revenues. This whole section here is all revenues. And the first one we'll talk about is owner storage unit rental. When Tim came on board last year, one of the things that he suggested was that we were undercharging for the owner storage units. I think we were at, what were we, was it
$6?
$6 a square foot annually? We increased that to $9.50 a square foot for this year, and it's going to go up to $12 a square foot next year. And Tim, how does that compare to market rates for storage?
We're still 30, 40% below market.
Okay, so we're still way below market, but we're getting a little more money for the storage units. So that budget will go up from 34,000 revenue to 42,000 revenue. Commercial space rental. This is basically the hairdresser. Sotheby's rents space from us for the real estate office. And then now we have those 9 RV rental spaces, RV parking spaces in the 3 outlying complexes. And so any revenue we get from that will be placed here as well. So that with the addition of the Sotheby's, they didn't pay before, now they are. Is that right?
They've been paying.
They've been paying.
No, but when you,
But
like,
we raised it.
I don't think
I don't
they
think we
paid
really-
in the past.
No, we didn't think it fast.
Right.
That's what I thought. Yeah. So that revenue budget goes from 2,700 for the year up to 5,000 for next year. Service and collection fees. This is just the this is late fees and interest on owner assessments that are unpaid or later unpaid. Our experience on this is getting way better. I guess it's the economy. We have far fewer owner delinquencies than we've had in the past. And so the money we collect for late fees and interest has gone down. As you can see, we budgeted 12,000 last year. We only expect to collect a little under 6,000. So we lowered the budget for next year to 6,000. Transfer fees, this is how much are we charging now? Is it 300?
Mhm.
300. It's been suggested that go to a percentage of sale price.
Ooh,
I forget who suggested that, but somebody did.
genius.
Yeah, especially in today's market, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, we budgeted 10,000 for this year. There's been way more sales than we expected. You all know what's going on with the real estate market here. It's just basically crazy. Units are selling close to $400 a square foot now.
Is
And-
there any possibility of making that 350, 325? Is that just a,
It's possible. It's possible.
I know it used to be 250 and
Yeah,
at some
we,
point you guys raised that. It is a whole lot more work in succession, like ridiculous the number of transfers we have to make and
actually,
changes.
we
Cover your costs.
actually lowering that to 10 might not be. I mean, at 300, we're averaging over 50 transactions a year.
Mhm.
Now, does that keep up? I mean, I just looked at a recent
Boy.
report from Julie Glenn. And right now, I mean, there's 9 units on the market active right now. Not pending sale.
Okay, yeah,
This is
so
just,
there,
this is units that are on the market and they don't have a
all
contract
right,
yet.
so for
it's-
this summer, it was like one and it was gone
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
So units keep coming on the market.
Yeah.
People are seeing the numbers and they're
Mhm.
saying, well, I'm gonna get a piece of that.
Mhm.
So maybe 10,000 is too light right there.
Mhm.
Because 50 transactions at $300, that's 15,000.
And I'd like the board to consider raising the $300.
Okay. All right.
350.
Oh, 350. I thought you said $300. It is
No,
300.
raise the $300 rate to something else. Something higher.
325, 350, what?
Well, whatever you,
Do you know what's typical out there in the market?
I have a small HOA that I own a condo in downtown and it's $500.
Is it?
There's others that are real low, 50. The other HOAs I manage, 250 was South Dalton. I can't recall.
So you want to go 350 or 350?
Oh, I think that it would be appropriate to raise that fee commensurate with the property increase, so that the fee remains roughly the same fraction of the total cost associated with transfer of property. That'll require, some more calculations, but I would imagine that if we did that calculation, it would suggest that we could raise to 350 or more. I would probably even guess more than that.
Well, I can highlight this and we can have further
If
discussion on it.
anybody wants to, think about that.
I'm gonna kick that up to 15,000. Right there anyway. 350, 50 transactions of 350 would be more than 15,000.
17.5.
Okay. Laundry machine income. Nothing, we got almost what we expected, so we'll leave the budget as is. Vending machine income. Tim, you said you
Yeah,
suggest,
we're below budget because we had non-functioning machines for a few months.
oh, okay,
We just got the new machines in and I'm expecting it to be similar to what has happened historically.
okay. And then merchandise sales, this is logo items, and we deleted the line item for DVR sales because we don't sell that many of them, so we're including that on this line now
So if we sell a DVR, you want that to go in here?
in there.
Okay.
And then what, I mean, if we sold 1425 this year, why are we reducing that to 1,000 now?
I think we were trying to be conservative.
Yeah,
But Paige would like to put more effort into this that I wasn't able to.
1,500.
1,500.
Give her a goal.
That helps.
Now beat that.
okay.
All these little things help.
2,000.
Did you want to talk about the billing rate increase
On what now?
line code 404?
404. Oh, yeah, okay. Did I skip that one?
Yeah.
No, how did I do that? All right, well, thanks. That's why you guys are here. Yeah, right now, the current labor billing rate is $50 an hour. Tim wants to increase that to $65 an hour. Tim, I'm gonna let you talk about that.
I propose to increase the hourly billing rate from $50 to $65 per hour. The new rate, we will still be providing high value to ownership when compared to contractor rates, which are 85 to 110 an hour. Contractors typically charge 2-hour minimum and travel expense in addition to the hourly rate. So that's why I would like to raise it. It'll be a 30% increase in our billing rate, which will help us bump the number to 120 from 115.
So the 120 that we've got plugged in there represents, that's representative of that rate increase.
Correct.
Now, you want to talk about the
No, Gary can do that.
the premium charge for rental units?
Yeah, that's number 3. The next one I wanted to hit was Joe brought in a flat labor only fee schedule for some common requests that we've received historically. Some of those being light bulb replacement, plunging a toilet, Onity lock service, water heater assistance, television remote, etc. I'd like to leave the billing practice as is, where we bill actual time used in 15-minute increments. It's simple for us to do it with our new computer system. The majority of the common requests will still be billed at a quarter of an hour for $16. But it allows us to still bill maybe a half an hour if I've got a difficult toilet or I've got a difficult, Onity lock issue or whatever it might be. So that's what I would propose, is not having any flat labor rate for certain items.
But you'd identify certain items like the light bulb, the plunge toilet, the Onity lock service, the TV remote assistance as being typically a quarter-hour deal.
And then there would be an explanation if it turned out to be a complicated
Right.
Onity or
Well, yeah, if we spend an hour
the tech. would
plunging a
need to-
toilet and, doing more
Mhm.
drain cleaning.
There's more problem there than you thought.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
hate to have a fixed fee for
Mhm.
plunging a toilet when it'll take my guy an hour.
When there's a problem farther down the line. Mhm.
The third item I wanted to talk about in here was there used to be separate rates for owner occupied units. The old labor rate schedule had an hourly rate of $50 for owner occupied rate units and $65 for units in a rental pool. The logic behind that was due to higher level of wear in the rental units compared to owner occupied units. I don't support that strategy for 2 reasons. First of all, housekeepers generate work orders from rental units. We see a much higher frequency of work order in rental units. So the additional wear, which is a real thing, is paid through a higher number of work orders. The other reason I would not support 2 rates is that when we're closing out a work order, our staff will have to verify if the units are in a rental pool before they close it. And it also opens the door for more discussions about the rate charges. For instance, Joe, if you have a unit that's in a rental pool and then you have your son come use the unit, and he makes a work order, are you in a rental rate or are you in an owner occupied rate? It's just more brain damage. And so I would hope that we can stay with the $65 flat for everybody.
Okay,
It seems to make sense to me.
anybody on the board want to discuss that? Yeah, I heard somebody say something. Was that Jerry?
Yeah, it was me, Jerry. So that seems to make sense.
Okay,
Yeah, I think so too.
okay, so we can move on from that.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so that completes our review of revenue line items, or at least for today anyway, or for now. Still have some spots up in here that need to be determined. I guess this one can get cleared out. All right, so that was good. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. This next group is expenses, and this section here is all of our administrative expenses. Or administrative expenses that aren't salaries, because there's personnel down here as well. So let's talk about this first group, insurance. We had a slight increase. We've gotten all of our new rates from our insurance agent for 2022. We had a slight increase in rates, and so this note out here to the side is the explanation of that increase. Buildings are a year older. We've got increased inflation protection for increased construction costs. And there's been and of course, most insurance companies, American Family included, had a blanket 2021 rate adjustment on all policies. So that resulted in our policy rate going from $96,640 up to $99,906. And I knew what the explanation was for why we had this bump in insurance here, bump in our insurance costs here, but I didn't make a note of it and I don't remember it. I will make sure I get that for tomorrow's meeting so I can explain that.
Paying for the umbrella policy all at once.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, the reason why that number is over budget there is because we had to, it's required that when we get our new umbrella policy, that we have to pay for it upfront all at once. So that's actually part of 2022's umbrella policy cost. Right? Am I right on that? No? Yes?
Oh, sorry, I was
Am I right on
telling
that?
her something.
So that's actually part of 2022's umbrella policy
Correct.
cost. Yeah.
That's what I understand. Yes.
So that's why that's that way. So Elisa, then shouldn't
Well,
this then go down by that amount? You take a look at that.
yeah, let's talk to Jennifer, maybe. We have to pay the umbrella policy again in
Oh, that,
fall next year. But I think when we talked, you said that included the umbrella policy.
at least at this year's rate.
Yeah,
So that this one-time deal where we've got this 113 over,
Probably just like a catch-up
that was a one-time, that
roll
was a
through
one-time
thing, yeah,
anomaly. All right, I'll verify that.
okay.
I'm writing myself a note here. Okay. I'm gonna highlight that so I remember to do it. All right, accounting. Elisa, you want to talk about where we're at with
Yeah,
accounting?
okay, so we had one quarter of Tommy's review on my financial statements for you guys. He stopped doing that. Tommy had a real bad case of COVID. He's actually still suffering the effects from it. And so we didn't have any his review of financial statements, but Joe and I agreed that we don't necessarily need that anymore. It's just a cursory little thing. They can be reviewed in full during the tax return and the audit. However, I also made a note that if we have to, if he needs to step down from his practice, we may need to find a different CPA. Cross that bridge when we come to it. At this point, he's still got staff that can do work, and he is working, but he's on oxygen, and it could be permanently.
And didn't you say he's actually, didn't you tell me that his business actually employs the services of a third-party CPA?
No, he has a CPA, a really good one, who actually does the work on our tax return, and he just reviews her
Is
work.
Tommy not a CPA?
He is, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, but he has several,
Okay,
and she's healthy. So we may be fine, and that,
So
so
why-
1,300 is just the estimate of what it
so
would
why don't
cost
we
to.
go directly to this other CPA?
Because she's an employee of Tommy's, I don't know. if
Oh,
she-
okay, so she's part of the firm.
Yes.
Oh, all
yes.
right. Okay, I didn't get that. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Assessment fees uncollectible. This is a number that we keep in the budget. It's advisable to do it in case there's write-offs because of total non-payment of HOA fees. This hasn't happened in a while. We didn't have any write-offs last year either, did we? We haven't had any write-offs for a couple of years. Again, this relates back to the line above where I talked about service and collection fees are lower. And it's just an indicator that our owners, the economy is probably better and doing well, and most of our owners, if not all, are able to pay their dues, and we just don't have the kind of issues with that we've seen periodically in the past. But it's still a number that you need to keep in the budget. It's just a good practice. I wonder if could we lower that? I mean,
That's what I was thinking.
could we lower it to 5,000?
I would be all for that.
Let's do that. Because 5,000 would be one owner who was delinquent for, say, 3/4
Mhm.
Yeah,
and 2 or 3/4, and we take action, and if it, it comes to foreclosure and they're done, then,
Mhm.
and I mean, even if we don't, Kiowa law says that if somebody's got a loan and we try to foreclose, we get the priority lien, and we only get 2/4 anyway. So
Mhm.
that 5,000 would cover us on one instance for at least a year, maybe a little more than a year's worth of non-payments.
No, my recollection though is that Thank you. Prior to the past couple of years, there weren't write-offs that there used to be more than that. So it is dependent somewhat on the economy and how well everybody's doing from year to year, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Jerry. I mean, there has been periods in time when we've had more than 10,000 in write-offs, but for the last couple of years, we haven't had any. And I guess if we're going by recent history, recent track record, it would indicate that we should lower that some.
Yeah, no, I think I agree, Joe. But keep in mind that next year, or if things change, then we may need to adjust that again. But I think
Oh, yeah.
will be accurate.
Sure, there's always, year over year. That's why we go through this. That's why we do what we're doing today. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Legal fees and consulting. Again, here's another one where we've typically gone over budget. This year we won't. And if we ever get this water and sewer contract done, I don't think we've got any contractual stuff on the horizon. So it would be down to just basically transactional business that we do with our attorney. And
Joe, let me throw up a flag again, Mr. Chair. And that is, if we have to discuss special assessments or anything like that, we may need to draw in legal to review how we're going to approach that. And that's something that they have not been involved in for a while.
well, we had special assessments over the last 10, 15 years on the outside remodels, and I don't recall that we had that much legal assistance involved in that, except when we've had non-payment of the special assessments.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should be good.
I'm just, I put the 17.5 in there with the philosophy logic being that we don't have any major contractual business coming up. However, we might, this plumbing work.
Yeah.
That would be contract work. So I don't know.
I'm fine with it, Joe. I just
Yeah.
want to point out that there might be more legal fees. But
Okay,
I think 17.5 is good.
all right. Director's expense. I think are we really gonna have that 2,500? Because the only person traveling is Rick.
Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
mine will be,
This is the last meeting.
This is the last
Yeah.
meeting. So yours is gonna be actually, I mean,
it'll be, yeah, it'll be less than 1,000.
I'm gonna change that to that.
Ticket,
And with,
ticket was,
with as much, remote online attendance we've seen at board meetings, we're gonna have it feels like we'll have less
Yeah.
travel.
Great, yeah.
I think we can lower that
Well,
budget some. I mean,
yeah.
7,500 may be as far down as we want to go. I already dropped it to that from 9. Any other thoughts on that?
seems reasonable.
How many of you are gonna come next year to actually to a meeting? Show of hands.
Yeah, let's try that and see how it works.
What do you, just keep it at 7.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so auditing and consulting fees, this was my costs plus our audit costs. We went a little over budget on it, but all of my costs go away next year, so we're down to just the audit with Todd Beckstead up in Grand Junction, so we'll lower that budget to 8,000.
Joe, quick question. I don't, this may be a topic for later discussion, but even though your fees go away for next year, if you are involved in any of these meetings, it seems to me quite appropriate that your travel at least be covered. Do we need to do that anymore?
Yeah, the only time I ever travel for a meeting is basically this one, because all the rest of the times when we have meetings, I'm here. I always schedule my ski trips around one of my ski trips around the winter meeting, and I'm here all summer. So for the May and the September meetings, I'm here anyway. So I would only have one meeting that I would charge for travel, and that would be this one in November.
And that'd go under the
because of-
director's expense.
And that'd go under director's expense. Yeah.
One second, Joe. Who is Dan's secret
Oh,
iPhone?
we got
That's
that. Yeah,
Dan
there's-
Noonan.
Okay.
And secret.
All right. Thank you.
Okay,
He's already-
so does that mean Dan has a
Yeah, I-
non-secret?
Oh, maybe he dropped off and came
Okay.
back on.
All right.
People didn't-
Okay,
did Melissa leave too?
I don't know.
Maybe not so secret anymore.
I'm sorry, Jerry, well, go
You said
ahead.
Maybe not so secret anymore.
Yeah,
It
right.
It is not a secret anymore.
Okay, so annual meeting. We had, I mean, it was just increased costs for the food and beverage and so forth. Is John Niebling still on? Is he still there?
Let me see. John's iPhone, yeah. He's it's a blank screen, so I don't.
I don't know if he's still there or
No,
not.
he's
He said he'd be stepping out during the meeting, so I was gonna ask him. He's been involved in the annual meeting planning in the past, and I know when he came back on the board, he sent a message around, and one of the things he was asking about was, should we take a closer look at the participation in the annual meeting activities that we spend a lot of money for, and not very many owners seem to have shown up last
Yeah.
year, and what do we want to do about that? So I'd like to highlight that, and hopefully John, and I know Kathy's not on, right?
No.
Kathy's not on, and she was handling I helped her with it, but she was handling the food and beverage for that this year. And I know we had more, I know the costs went up on that. So I think maybe we should go ahead and have more discussion on that one. Okay. Web services. Okay, this is. When are we getting more feedback?
Looks like John Niebling.
There's Sean.
John's back.
It's that one.
So who's making all that noise?
John,
Well, it's something's wrong.
he's muted. Got it. John's back if you want to talk to him.
Hey, John, I don't know if you can respond because
He's muted.
but we're on line 532 here, and we're looking at the annual meeting costs, and I know you put out some communication after you got back on the board, asking about participation and so forth. I just wondered if you had any input on how to budget for this, more or less, whatever.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
So what's
Okay,
all
I don't, I guess I got muted somehow, I'm not sure how. But yeah, I'd sent out an email to the board. It seems to me And it seems
What's
to
the
me,
email?
He's got
on
two
two.
things. Can we
Yeah.
mute one of them? John, you're echoing in your other computer.
okay, hang on.
What's he doing?
Hang
Computer and using his
And using
iPhone?
Doesn't have audio on his,
Oh, on his computer.
It's an Apple issue.
there.
Okay, now is this better?
Yes,
Yes,
Okay, sorry. I thought for some reason my phone was muted, so I went to the computer, so I had them both on. Well, I just feel like the participation at the annual meeting seems to have been dwindling in the last few years, and there may be several reasons for that, but it just seemed to me we're always, we budget a certain amount of money, and then those of us that have been involved in the planning of any of the activities, we realize right away that the budget we proposed is not adequate. And, does that, I know we're probably trying to cut expenses rather than increase expenses, but I think we need to get real about the annual meeting, and maybe in this day and age, that idea of bringing everybody together, because, those of us that have been around for a while remember annual meetings that were very well attended. I don't know. I guess I would just say, if we're going to try to encourage the annual meeting, then we probably need to budget appropriately.
Number.
so based on that, John, we spent $8,243 this year. As you can see there. There's a little bit of golf tournament money in there, not much.
Right.
But a lot of that was because of the cost of food and beverage, which, as you know, we did through base camp this year.
Right.
And I don't know, does 9,000 sound good to you, or do you think it needs to be higher?
Well, the other thing, just let me mention, and this may be more of a tactical issue than a strategic issue, but I know we've tried very hard to save money on the mailing and save the trees, and I'm sympathetic to that, but I can tell you that a number of people who are relatively new owners, referring them to the website for information is not, it certainly didn't work. I mean, I had people of the day of the annual meeting tell me, of the owner's reception, say, well, I didn't know there was an owner's reception. Well, it's on the website. Well, but, I guess what I'm saying is, if we're going to really encourage people to make it to that meeting, we probably need to go back to some sort of real invitation to where, it's something they put their hands on, and that may, I don't think it'll be a huge expense, because it may increase the size of the packet by one page over this year. But again, I think maybe it's not important, but I think if we're going to try to encourage the activities of the annual meeting week, including the reception, we probably need to be a little more realistic about inviting people and getting the word out, and then having the kind of reception that people do enjoy.
Yeah, and I'd echo your thoughts on that, John, and a couple of points. One, my wife mentioned to me, talking to some of our friends, people that we play golf with, that claimed that they didn't even know there was going to be an owner's reception on that Thursday night.
Right.
So, and then the other thing is, talking about going back to more, hard copy type stuff. I know a lot of entities that do these kinds of things. They'll send out two notices. One would be a very early, like 3 or 4 months early, save
Right.
the date postcard,
Right.
save the date thing, and then follow that up with the formal invitation later. So I don't know if that's something we ought to think about or not. You know, I don't know what sending out 300 postcards would be, but anyway, just thoughts.
Yeah, and again, I think one thing the board probably needs to decide is whether the reception, which is probably the reception is probably the one purely social event that Taco sponsors in a sense for the membership. And again, you have things changed, and maybe do people not care about those kind of things anymore as much as they used to? I don't know. But, I think if we're going to try to encourage the annual week activities, including a reception on a Thursday evening, I think we need to do something like Joe's saying, which would be, like a double notice or even a special mailing of invitation or something like that, which, Gary probably knows what a mailing of a single item to all owners through the snail mail, what that would cost.
John, do we know what effect the COVID had on participation last year and the previous year?
Yeah, I don't know that. That's a good question, Jerry. Certainly the previous year, we just didn't have it. But, and maybe the atmosphere in the country is such that in-person activities are,
All things being equal, 9,000 should be fine.
yeah, things are a little looser, but I don't know. That's a good question.
Joe, can I interject something here?
Go, I'll let Rick tell you whether you can do that.
Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, 2017, we had pretty good participation. We had pretty good attendance in the meetings, if I remember correctly. 2018, I'm going to guess that there were some people who didn't come here because of the 416 fire and the aftermath of that. 2019, I don't remember. Last year, we didn't have anything. This year, we have COVID. I would discount to a certain extent the drop in attendance simply because the last 3 years have been bizarre, to say the least.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
All right, and the second thing, Elisa, can you drop me as co-host? Because I'm going to drop out now. I got to get ready.
Okay, fine.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, Gary, go play golf, Gary.
Yeah. All right. See you all later.
Take care. Those are good points that Gary makes. I guess, in a sense, again, if people, for a variety of reasons, have stopped making that a priority, maybe if we want to make that a priority, I think we're going to have to make an effort as a board. And again, I think it's got value, face to face, getting to know your neighbors. It's even as we speak, it's not a huge expense, but I think we find year by year that the 7,500 certainly doesn't cover even the most basic things we do.
Yeah, I do believe that it is important that we try to restore that weekend, those events, so that we get better participation. I just suspect, based on what Gary said in my own thinking and other comments, that it's been overcome by events over the last 2 or 3 years, and then that it should come back naturally, but we should continue to encourage participation by more people.
And again, the other factor that Gary didn't mention that we've talked about among some of us, and that is, the turnover in Taco owners has been phenomenal over the last 3 or 4 years. So basically, routine has not been established with people who just bought in the last couple of years. So I think if we're going to encourage this, those people are going to have to be targeted somewhat, and maybe the whole, save this date plus a follow-up invitation in the packet or something like that. And maybe the invitation in the packet, maybe that piece of paper needs to look a little different from all the other just plain old 8x10 sheets of printing stuff. Maybe it has to have a, party hats and,
So
Budget number.
you think 9,000 is good, John? Or you think? it
well,
should be
I
more
think
than
an
that?
increase, again, we can kid ourselves and put 7,500 in, but
No,
even-
no, we got
Yeah.
9 right now.
okay, no, I think that will help.
Okay. Okay, we'll go with that.
Hi, everyone. It's Laura Snavely. I'm a new owner. I put in the chat, if you're trying to kind of raise awareness, you guys could send out a paperless post or an Evite. And those are
Yep.
obviously save the trees. You're not paying for postage. And it's nice because you can kind of send updates as so you can send a save a date, and then you can continue to send updates and reminders to RSVP.
Okay, thank you for the comment, Laura. I'll remind again for the people that came late, the workshop is for the board members. And if you have any questions, comments, we would ask you to defer them till tomorrow to the board meeting, so that we don't draw this out along, but that is a good comment, and we do appreciate it.
Okay, next item on the in the admin expenses is 536 web services. And what's included in that budget is Carbonite, which is the backup system for the business computers. Our Zoom subscription, $300. Our web hosting and domain registration costs with GoDaddy, $771 every 2 years. Wix, which is I believe that's the website development tool that Gary uses. That's $324 a year. And then Election Runner, is that?
Our voting system,
Oh, that's okay.
which places SurveyMonkey.
Which replaced SurveyMonkey. Okay, all right. And so that's, I know we cut that budget. What did we drop out that
Vintium.
Vintium dropped out? That's right. Okay. So we saved some money by dropping Vintium, which wasn't working for us anyway.
And it was sort of duplicating everything.
And it was
else.
duplicating a lot of other things. So we've lowered that
Tim
budget.
didn't like
Hmm?
it. And Tim didn't like it.
Yeah, because I didn't like it.
Well, that's reason by itself. Payroll processing and miscellaneous. This is the payroll department in Durango that handles does our payroll and does all the government deductions, Social Security and tax deductions and all that, and funnels the money to the right places, and the service we use. And that went up because, why did that go up? Oh, we also include employee background checks in there. Okay, so that's why that went up. Okay. All right, and property taxes, nothing much to talk about there. We raised it a couple $100 just because of property values going up, and we expect a little bump. Service and security desk, this is one of the numbers I mentioned earlier that I'm gonna make this change right now. 26. Actually, this is one I'm gonna do a link from the
Okay.
service and
And that
security
number
desk
could
page,
change
so
again.
it'll update every time. Yeah, and it could change again. Yeah, so again, this is a port over from the service and security desk budget page, and it's a number that all of the other expenses, all of the other I'll go there and just so you can see it. It's this line right over here. So it's with all the other revenues that contribute to the to this budget, we need something to balance it out. And like the owner's assessments on the operations side, this number is a floating number, and whatever we need to plug in there to make this number be zero, that's what we put in there. And then that goes over here and it becomes a
You got the,
an administrative
right
expense.
there.
Yeah, there's a delay.
Oh,
There's when I change pages, it delays a little. There's a little bit of a delay. I noticed that. So now that number matches up with the one on the page that I just showed you.
Joe, does any of that figure include salary information for the front desk?
That's on that page, and we'll get to that later, Jerry.
Okay, so those are other expenses associated with?
No, this is a revenue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is a revenue on the service and security desk page. So when we get to that page, I'll answer that. You'll see that. So I'm gonna clear this content.
doesn't matter. Okay.
Just catching up here. Okay. All right, marketing and promotions. Okay, here's a discussion. This is where we have a contract with, I guess we have an agreement, some sort
Yeah,
of
agreement.
some sort of engagement agreement with Ann Dixon, who does the newsletter and social media presence, our Tamaron page on the Facebook,
Yes.
so on and so on and so on. So Elisa, speak to this.
Okay, so she has asked for $550,
$55 increase.
$55 increase in her monthly fee.
6,000 a year.
So, yes, so we've got 6,000 plus the 1,500 that we're thinking for other marketing items. We would like the board to consider the fact that 500 or 555 a month is a lot for just doing the website, Facebook thing, and the newsletter. We have a delightful new employee, Paige, who is
Not new,
Not new.
promoted.
yeah, promoted, newly promoted,
She's old.
yeah, who can do both of those things, plus more. You know, I don't know what kinds of things we've talked about, you know,
Whatever you want.
food drives and.
The bottom
other
line
things,
is,
but-
we've always, over the years, we've always endeavored to try to bring in-house work. I can cite examples. Landscaping is one of the big ones. Instead of paying an outside contractor, we bring the work in-house. We get it done more efficiently, and we get it done more cheaply. I didn't want to use the word cheaply, but anyway, we get it done. Yeah.
This
So-
is Tracy. Can you
Who's
guys
that?
hear me okay?
Yeah,
Hi, everybody. Sorry I joined late. You know, I saw that and I agree. That's a large amount of money for a contractor. And my first thought was, what does that work into on an hourly rate for what she's doing? I can't imagine that it's
Yeah.
that many hours a month. And so, yeah, I would actually really be interested in exploring letting Paige do that.
so really, I think we're all in agreement there. We can go ahead and just pick that up in-house with Paige. So the discussion here really for this line would be merchandise. What Do
we wanna
we,
spend
do
on
we want to
merch?
keep the same amount? Do we?
What do you think?
1,500.
That's what we spent in 2021, so.
If we can spend more, we could make more. If we can
That's my
narrow
only
down
concern.
who's gonna buy what.
Well, the merchandise thing, that's offset, right?
It should
I
be,
mean,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so even if we don't increase this budget, if we overspend it, it will be reflected with an increase in revenue on this
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
So we're
Okay.
not hurting ourselves by under budgeting this. If we spend $3,000 on merchandise down here, you're gonna get the revenue back when you sell it up
Mhm.
here.
So we can drop that line, 560 or no,
By
576
76.
down to 1,500.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good.
Who's gonna tell Ann?
Yeah, I guess, Rick, that's on you.
Um,
Or Elisa. I guess Elisa could do it.
I'll
She's
send her an
the
email.
general manager.
Never mind. I'll just blame it on Joe.
No.
You can,
Blame it on Stacy, the
you
new
just
board
tell
member.
her.
She doesn't even know her.
I'm
You
not,
can-
I'm teasing.
you can just tell her that because of Paige's position,
Yeah,
the
we brought it
board.
out.
It's
No,
a
it's a simple.
it's a
No,
simple
I'm-
explanation.
Yeah.
We've
We're-
done this
yeah.
before.
We're
We
gonna
brought
do
work
it.
in-house.
Yeah, we
Okay.
brought it in-house.
We brought all our accounting work in-house.
Okay.
We brought all this work in-house. We're doing
Yeah.
it here.
Yeah.
We're big enough to do that.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And just tell her the board made the decision,
was-
we're gonna do it in-house
Okay.
going forward.
Okay.
The next one's a discussion too.
Lobby coffee service.
Oh,
Want to do it or not?
No,
I think
Yes.
the discussion,
yes.
the discussion between us before was, we decided we weren't gonna do it.
Who did, who? You and-
I thought that's what, when the four of us were out there, I thought that's what we decided.
That was, we were talking
Frankly,
about.
I didn't
using-
like
Well, yeah, I know that.
I like my own.
you know who's gonna drink it? It's the staff.
It's the employees, I know.
We get a lot of, I don't know how many, but a lot of people asking about coffee. It's a big disappointment for hotel guests. Tim has said that most of this coffee will be drank by staff members.
Mhm.
So that's something to consider.
One, the other thing is the property's transitioning from hotel guests to people that live here longer term.
And that's okay. It's a, I mean, it's an amenity.
You know what I'm reminded of on this? You guys, who remembers Malcolm Dunleavy?
Joe, Gary told us about that.
He used to come in there and get his coffee every morning.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know, this guy was at one time, he was the general manager of Glacier Club, and his office was right upstairs in the part of the building that got torn down. So he'd come down and fill his coffee cup.
Oh.
Sucker.
So all year and last year, we've just been telling people no because of COVID.
Yeah.
We still have COVID.
Is there does anybody else have an opinion out there?
Anybody else on the board have an opinion on the coffee in the front lobby?
Yeah, I want to put in a endorsement for maintaining the coffee service. Regardless of whether staff uses it more than owners. I just think it's a nice touch, and there were some people who would be surprised and dismayed if it were not there.
It hasn't been there for what?
2 years,
2 years.
A year and a half.
2, 9 months, however long COVID. whenever
Since
COVID
March
started.
of last year.
Yeah, so 18, 20 months it hasn't been there.
Stacy, you were gonna say something.
Yeah, thanks. I'm to hear, I hadn't even considered that the staff are the main consumers of it. I feel like it is nice to provide staff coffee. I'm a coffee drinker myself. If I tried to work without coffee, I wouldn't be productive at all. And so if this is something that's a relatively low cost that our staff seems to appreciate, and if we do have guests who are actively inquiring about it, then it's serving a lot of people. You know, I compare this to, it looks like maybe we haven't gotten to that page yet, but to the bus service. If we're going to offer the bus service that's costing $5,000 to service 15 people, it seems like the way it sounds, more people are enjoying the coffee than 15 servings a day, and it would be a nominal cost. So Elisa, do you feel that the staff appreciates the coffee and that they would wonder what's happening if their coffee's not
Well,
available?
So that's interesting because we've not, since I started in May during COVID, I've never seen the coffee. We do provide, and Gary and myself and Tim, we purchase the coffee personally for the staff and ourselves. And we all have coffee makers in the back room. So there is coffee and tea and snacks.
Oh, okay.
for the staff. So Tim thinks that it'll be more convenient, and some of the staff will walk by and just grab a cup there instead of going back to maintenance. So, but definitely for guests. Yeah, because that's a big disappointment and kind of you almost see a frustration when we tell people no coffee.
Okay.
Even after 2 years,
Yeah.
after 2 years of not having it.
I think
Yeah,
you're
well,
you're
the
first
people that,
overruled.
are asking are new guests,
Leave it in
we'll
there.
tell-
Let's move on.
We'll leave it. Okay, we'll leave it.
Sure, yeah.
We'll leave it. Let's go.
Okay, let me just adjust my deal here.
If you need to take a break, let me know.
I'm fine.
No, whenever.
Well, we need to, gonna need a break.
I'm thinking about 10:30.
10:30, take a
I mean, I may
take a
have
quick
to,
one.
may have to go before that.
Minute.
But what I was gonna say was if anybody needs to go.
Us old guys, you know.
Yeah. Just go. Because I will
Okay.
be here shortly.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, Rick was just telling me, we'll take a quick break at 10:30 for the cause, and we'll do that then. So in case anybody's wondering. All right.
Just a question on that. Does the lobby copy, is that gonna have a number?
Does what?
Does the lobby copy service
Account
going to
code?
have an account?
The
number?
account code.
We'll create one.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Lisa,
Okay.
yeah, Lisa will
All right.
create it. Yeah. I'll just put a question up there just for now.
because I'll need to know that at a future date.
Okay. So one of the things we've changed recently is we split up the administrative salaries, our staff salaries from our hourly, and put so this line item here, or this group, is the compensation for Elisa, Gary, Tim, and Paige. And so the numbers are reflected there. We were just a little over budget this year. I got a note here. What's the note? Oh, that didn't include bonuses for 21. Okay. So we're a little bit over budget this year. The bump includes salary for Paige, not all of it. But there's pay increases and other compensation increases, nets out to the figure you see there for our staff salaries for next year. Employee benefits, this is going to appear in 3 places here in the next page under the maintenance salaries, and then service and security desk salaries. We got some good news. Paige did some research. We know that Rocky Mountain Health Plans, who is our healthcare provider for our employees, is no longer going to be providing their product in Colorado. So we knew we were going to have to switch. Paige did some research, and I reviewed all of what she found out with her yesterday. And we're going to probably be moving to Bright Health, which is a subsidiary of United Healthcare, big player in the health insurance business. And for whatever reason, you always think in terms of healthcare plans going up in price rather than down. Our net cost for our staff employees for next year, instead of being 55,000 or higher like it was this year, it's going to be 34,680. So we saw a significant decrease in the premium cost for next year.
Did out of pocket go up?
No,
No,
it actually
no.
and that's the beauty of it. That's what we went through yesterday. All of your deductible, your out-of-pocket maximum, your co-pays, all went down. All went down.
So if you can wait.
Yeah, I can wait.
Yeah, you might want to. I don't know.
No, I
No, you can't. Just joking. Anyway. So that's good news there. So I just made that change right there on that line.
Joe,
Payroll tax, huh?
Joe, let me go back to salaries admin.
Yeah,
If I look at the year-to-date and the estimated November, December, that is not the same as the total estimated for 2021.
Because
Ah.
we put, well, I don't.
no, that Jerry's
It's gotta be a
right.
calculation.
No, Jerry's
Oh.
right.
Oh,
That calculation didn't get there. Whoops,
There's no formula in there.
there's no formula in there. Why is that?
The line below it doesn't have a formula.
Oh, I'll fix that. I'll fix it right now.
Oh, we do.
Okay. Fixed. Thanks, Jerry.
I think all four of those, no, the top three.
Well, they're all fixed.
Okay.
They just fixed them all. Okay, so lines 47 and 48, payroll tax and workman's comp, insurance premiums, those are a straight percentage of the base salary. So those are the numbers right there. And that finishes off this page.
Right.
Rick left. Rick went to the back. Okay, so we're gonna go to the operations page. What did you say is different?
I'm trying to also mimic you so we can double check, and I've got an administrative expense. I'm off on something, but I
Which
can.
one?
I don't know. Sorry, administrative, the total. 13. Oh, I didn't change the 5,000. $6,000 for board. Nope, we kept that. 8, 9, 1,500, 28, 55.
Did you find it yet?
I think it's not, my formula is not adding. Okay, yes, I did. Thank you.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. Can you bottom lines all work out?
529. Yep, got it.
Okay. That's like, I remember when your mother and I were doing this at this meeting, we always tried to,
She, like mother, like daughter.
yeah,
I think she taught me that.
yeah,
You got to keep an eye on Joe.
good advice. All right. Okay. Building and grounds expenses, this is pretty much all Tim's shop. Account 612 is building maintenance. And
The,
go ahead.
the number, what was it, 144
Yes.
That's in capital.
is, okay,
That's on the next page.
is that a hard number? Is 144 exactly what?
We have We have a contract for that scope of work.
Why don't we talk
Yeah.
about that when we get
Okay.
there? Yeah. Okay, so Tim suggests that this number is going to go down a little bit next year.
Well, we just didn't spend as much
Yeah.
this year as we had in the past.
Okay,
I don't have a reason why. I don't have a reason why I would expect to spend more next year. The one comment that you've put in here is a valuable comment. I do want to put,
did you create a sub account for this? for
no,
the-
we haven't talked about
For the
that yet.
plumbing, so we can track it, because I asked the question, how much we've been spending on that, and we weren't able to put a
Right,
finger
I
on
think
it.
we definitely should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that'll be a sub account in 612.
this is, for those online, what we're talking about is the increasing costs we're having for, and we're gonna talk about this at length a little bit later on, increasing costs we're having for keeping up with cast iron drain plumbing, which is all over this property, failures. That it rusts from the inside out, cracks and leaks, causes damage, has to be repaired, the damage has to be repaired. And we're dealing with trying to figure out what we're spending on that, and we're going to create a sub account under 612 so that all future costs that we incur for that particular type of maintenance function can be collected there and tracked better. Outside services billed to owners, this is all subcontractor work where we hire the subcontractor, have work done in an owner's unit, and then, by the way, we'll bill that back to the owner and it'll show up in the revenue side. Snow removal, it's been pretty good the last couple of years. Skiers would say, no, it hasn't been pretty good the last couple of years, but that's the give and take there.
Why'd you put 75, Tim?
Because Joe bumped it or lowered it $5,000 last year.
From
And we
what I-
are expecting more snow this year.
No, we're not.
That's what I heard.
The almanac side- almanac
Durango
side-
weather guy
The,
put out
what did he say? What's he saying?
normal precipitation, slightly above normal temperatures.
I thought it's a La Nina.
It is La Nina this year.
It's a La Nina, which means less.
Less.
Can we lower this number?
But what is, but what's his name? The weather guy, what's his name?
Durango weather guy.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
Durango Snow Lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking
So
about.
he's saying it'll be an
He said,
average.
yeah, he said the pattern that's setting up was similar to 2008, 2007, 2008, and that year there was heavy snow in December
Okay.
going into January, and then it was below normal after that.
I remember that.
And we budgeted 20,000 for November, December this year.
Yeah, and that may be, well, then that,
If
so that,
if it is, it is.
yeah. Do you think 20,000 is too much?
Well, that
Do
number.
you have,
is-
do you have
we
enough,
spent- I
do
think
you
we
have enough
spent 17 or
experience with that?
18.
Do you have
I
enough
think-
experience with that to get,
Last year, I think we spent 17 or 18
yeah.
in November, December.
And last year was what was last year like in November, December? Was it fairly light or about average or?
I
I
think it
don't
was
know.
light.
Light.
this year, Yeah.
It was light.
It was light, yeah.
Can we lower that to 70?
We could put it to 7. I mean, don't beat me when I go over.
I'm gonna
Oh,
beat you.
hey, hey, you will never break what was the record year we had? What
Was it 2 years ago? I heard
It
that.
was 2019. 2019.
Yeah.
we spent $140,000 on snow.
Oh,
removal.
wow.
So I'm gonna actually.
Yeah, that was a killer year.
All right, so make that 70.
I did.
So philosophical question perhaps, Joe, in view of the fact that that can vary so wildly, should we be more conservative so that we don't take some huge hit anomaly?
We tend to take the 4 to 5 year average, Jerry, and that's about what that is right there.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
142,000
142.
in 2019.
Wow,
Good.
there you go.
The
Good
old guy
memory.
has a good memory, doesn't he?
I'm impressed.
Yeah, that was crazy. I think the snowpack, you know how in the newspaper, it shows you the snowpack range? I think it was actually close to was it over 200% of average?
I don't remember that.
It was way up there. It was crazy. All right, so roof and ceiling repairs. Budgeted 35, we spent 36, we'll budget 35 for next year.
That handles 95% of the need. I think it's a good number.
Okay. Grounds. Budgeted 25, we'll spend 27, we'll budget 25. Good?
Yep.
Window washing. Not much to say there, it's pretty much right on. You want to talk about these two, Tim?
Yeah, and High Point and Gamble Oak, every year we budget 20,000 for those two and then 15,000 for the exterior of the lodge and Pinecone. High Point and Gamble have had sections of the exteriors that have been neglected because we didn't have enough money to do all of it. I had a chat with Bo about Griswold about, why our stucco is looking pretty rough. We looked at some concrete columns underneath the buildings, supporting the buildings that haven't been painted for 6-7 years. He wanted to raise it a little bit more. I think if we raise it $5,000 on each of those two properties, then we'll catch up over the next couple of years.
Talk to Dave Dunn when you have a chance, just when you see him in passing, and ask him about, because what I remember from the exterior remodels is the stucco that was put on these buildings is that's not painted. The color is in the stucco. The stucco came in buckets and it was already, you slapped it on there and the color was there. And I seem to remember something about painting the stucco, painting over it. And there were considerations, like you didn't just throw paint on
You don't
there.
put paint on it, but some of it's been, it gets hit by mowers and by sprinklers and by
Yeah.
dogs
Yeah.
and everything else.
Yeah.
It needs to be touched up.
So this is the skirt stucco in Gamble Oak. Pinecone has the metal skirting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. All right, but have that conversation with Dave, because I remember him when we were doing the remodels. I remember talking about the stucco and about whether or not you painted it, and in the future, could you paint it? And I'm guessing that it maybe requires
It could be another skim coat.
a special material, or maybe another skim coat. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like some of my neighbors up there said as soon as the water hit it, it discolored. It was almost an immediate thing.
Do you have stucco on your skirting there?
Yeah.
On the front, on the back, you got metal, but on
Right.
the front, you got, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, see, we recognize that. You always, when you do these remodels, Pinecone was last. So we learned. That's why we did metal on the side. All the skirting in Pinecone is metal.
Yeah, High Point was first.
Yeah.
I'd like to defer these two.
You want to talk about them again?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Pinecone and the Lodge are good. Fire sprinklers and extinguishers. Tim?
Yep.
Where we at with that? Are we okay?
Yeah, we're saying we're good with the 20.
Is that where the destructive testing thing comes in?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
that's a $16,000 spend. I've got my sprinkler guy doing some research on that. That's not something that the fire department says you got to do this. In order to extend the useful life of some sprinkler heads, if you do the test, they give you a 5-year extension on the lifespan of your sprinkler heads. So he's working on reading the code. We're doing some analysis on
My
the sprinkler
understanding
head.
was it was code, but,
It's,
or a new code that was being
it's
implemented.
probably something that we're gonna want to do next year.
You know,
And it was about 16 grand, but I don't want to put it in this year.
okay. Elevator maintenance. I had a question here. We remodeled both of those elevators,
Yeah,
and we expected our annual costs of maintenance because of the remodel to go down. I'm wondering why they went up.
It's a maintenance contract.
Oh,
It's a fixed,
So
it's an annual.
but that
fee.
was also considered to be something that, since the contract, the contractor knew that they were now dealing with new state-of-the-art controls, that the requirements wouldn't be as much. I don't know, it's just, yeah.
Well, I know 2021 went over because we didn't get that contract signed until like March. And the previous contract was higher than what we have now.
And 12,000 is less than 14 that was spent this
Yeah.
year. All right, just asking the question.
Yeah.
Communication systems maintenance. So this is parts and service for our satellite TV, internet, telephone systems. Should we have to call in Ting or Groove to do any work that can't be handled by Cody? I don't know. Can we lower that to 2,000 since we only spent 1,600 this year?
Gary and Cody are up to their neck in that one. I don't have a strong opinion on it.
Can we check on that? Can you check with them on that?
Yeah.
So we can see if we can drop that tomorrow. Office automation, copiers and office supplies. Got a note here, components of that are our maintenance accounting system fix. Digirati, which is our IT contractor. Did you ever figure out what we're doing with Adobe?
I would like, I'm comfortable with a standalone,
Okay,
and I don't know how Tim feels.
I'm fine with that.
and is that 600 going to cover that?
Yeah, because it was 300 apiece.
Okay.
Yeah.
Postage costs, FedEx costs, office supplies, UPS certified. Now I know what that is. Oh gosh.
Maybe
Okay.
we can get away with not doing that every time.
I wish we could too. And doing our annual reports with Secretary of State corporate report. Okay, so there's that. Temperature monitoring and alarms. Anything we should know about there, Tim? Okay. Cell phone, this item is going away because the only cell phone we've got on the account anymore is Tim's, and we're gonna delete this item and just Tim is gonna expense it. Fogged windows. Tim, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, we've had a waiting list historically, and it just seems that if we know we're going to spend $18,000 or $20,000 to meet our obligations to the ownership, we probably ought to, rather than pushing people into making them wait a year to get our problems addressed. I just thought it was appropriate to bump that up a little bit so we don't have people on a waiting list
Yeah,
or a shorter list.
hard to argue with that.
Mhm.
Okay, gotta keep the property updated, up to snuff. Lodge carpet cleaning. Self-explanatory. And maintenance and insurance on our HOA owned vehicles. Why are we, if we spent 9,800 last year, why are we only budgeting 8? Oh, you said one-time expenses
Yeah,
in
there
the
were some
first year, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there were some first, when we bought them, we had. to buy some
Equipment
accessories
and
things of that nature.
accessories, yep.
Okay,
I went down, I know how many miles we are gonna put on the vehicle. I don't know what gas is gonna cost in 6 months, but we made a pretty well-defined guesstimate on what that number is.
okay. Okay. This is a good place to stop and take a break.
Okay. We'll go ahead and take a break for 10 minutes.
Yeah, why don't you, let's round that up and say
Have we resumed yet? You guys are muted in the conference room.
you heard anything I said?
Oh my God,
No one was.
I didn't hear anything. You were muted, Joe. Didn't hear anything.
sorry.
All right, well, let me go back then and we already covered, sorry about that. Thanks, Jerry.
Sorry.
So salaries, Tim commented that we're gonna be adding extra staff extra temporary staff in the summer, keep up with landscaping maintenance. And so we're gonna have a little bit of a bump in our salary budget there. Employee benefits, the new rate, I just changed it. So as you can see from our what we spent this year to what we're budgeting next year, again, it's a savings because of the new health plan provider that we're going to be using. Talked about that on the staff salaries on the previous page. Payroll tax and workman's comp, straight percentages, so no explanation needed there. And there's the bottom line on our maintenance salaries for the year. Utilities. So as I was saying, I'll repeat what I was saying. Water and sewer 701. We are still in negotiations with Elbert Creek Water Company on the on the new water and sewer contract. We're 95% of the way there. I believe things are getting towards the end and should have that done hopefully within a short period of time. I think you're going to have something to say about that in the board meeting tomorrow, correct?
Yeah.
Water and sewer report. Yeah. Okay. So this this budget number is based on the new 2022 rates that were provided to us. What, a couple of months ago, Jerry? Did we get the rates?
Yeah, about a little over a month ago.
Yeah. So did the analysis of our consumption. We're on a metered rate, not a flat rate. So did an analysis of our consumption based on the new rates, using the new rates, and came up with our estimate of what our water and sewer costs for next year would be based on that, and that's what this 370,000 number is. Satellite TV. We have not been notified of a price increase. Am I correct, Lisa?
Yep, we're good.
So we kicked it up a little bit just in case they take advantage of the 2% increase cap. We've been at that same figure for quite a while now, haven't we? Yeah. Electricity, man, it's been a moving target. Seems like every year we budget for something, we overspend, then we compensate for that by budgeting more the following year, and then we underspend. I don't know if 150,000 is the right number. Like I said, we just never know for whatever reason. There could be a rate increase for 2022. We haven't heard of anything yet.
I talked with the LPEA and they do not have anything on their docket right now, even for discussion.
Yeah.
There's been a kind of a quiet discussion going on about a potential rate increase over the next couple of years, but they've been pushing it back because of the COVID thing.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think leaving it at 150,000 is probably, we could cut it down in hopes that it doesn't, this would be one of those years that we over budget and then it comes in lower, but who knows? You just don't know. Internet and telephone service is a fixed price contract for 5 years, and we're in year 3 of that deal. So that's not going to change. And refuse service, our price went up on that, our cost went up on that a little bit because we increased the size of the dumpsters in Pinecone and High Point because they were overflowing with regularity this past summer. So we went from what, 4 cubic yard to 8. Yeah, and I think Gamble Oak already had an 8.
Correct.
Yeah, so now all outlying areas have 8 cubic yard dumpsters. And so that cost is embedded in there. The cost of our recycling program is also included in this number. So now you can see where we're at with, if we were to, I'd have to do a quick calculation, but I'll wait until we're done with the capital to see what our increase in budget would be. It's going to be less than what you see there because we've already knocked out a few things. So let's move over to capital. Capital, these are our one-time projects in any given year. That's why you'll see a bunch of zeros in or blank spaces. These are all items that were completed this year and they'll be deleted for next year. And if I scroll down, this area right here is the wish list for next year. So going back up to the top. 805, bat mitigation and control. Did we get a bill yet from them? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
So that 28 is, that's it?
Yep.
All right, so we know that to be a good number.
Do we need to spend that much on bat mitigation?
This year, Rick, we finished up the lodge building. We did it in like 4 one-year phases. We spent $7,000 putting a 3-year warranty on the work starting now for the next 3. And then we had some additional work at High Point this fall where he saw some activity. So we needed to do that to get ahead of it. He provided a pretty well detailed scope of work that he was proposing for the next 2 years. We pushed this, the $20,000 number was 33 a few days ago. We said, let's just spread it out over, a longer period of time. We've got some issues to address at High Point. We have some issues to address at Pinecone. If we wanted to say, can we spend 15? We could make the number anything we want. We run the risk of having infiltration and then bigger problems. So that number, I wouldn't mind dropping the 20, another 5 if we needed to, but we've got about $35,000 worth of work out there to do right now.
But we can spread that over a couple of
Yeah.
years.
I don't think it's gonna be the end of the world.
I did not, just observation wise, I didn't see that much bad activity. I didn't see any bad. Well, can't say that. I didn't see that much bad activity this year. And I don't recall hearing of too many owners complaining about it. Certainly the guys in the lodge, the 2 guys that live up in the penthouse in the lodge, they didn't complain about it this year. And they would if they'd be the first ones. What about in the outlying areas? Was there any?
Tim heard some complaints.
Yeah, there was a few done and somebody sees the bat guys out there. And so they say, oh, I must have a bat.
Yeah, it's Kathy. I saw quite a few in Pinecone. We would sit out in the evening when we were living in the treehouse and they would be out in the evenings, but.
Yeah, well, they're out there. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
The question is whether or not they're getting into our buildings somehow.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they'll hang out in trees if that's what they have to do.
Oh, yeah, they live here.
Yeah, they live here. They're out there. I see them. I see them on my back deck as well, Kathy, and we're in the same area. So, yeah.
I guess to answer your question, Rick, if we need to, we do have some areas that need some attention. Do we have to spend 20 grand? No.
And so that's the place we can cut it a little bit.
I would not be opposed to cutting that to 15, but I wouldn't go any lower than that because there are some hot spots out there.
Okay, done. This railing, rear deck railing paint seems to be a rotating ongoing thing, and Tim says we should move that into the maintenance operations budget, so that'll go into 612. I think it was 612, right?
Well, it's one of those exterior maintenance.
No.
Oh, in the exterior maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll do that item will be deleted this year, next year. Under building storage and cleanup and storage cleanup, Tim says we can delete that for next year. Fire suppression pump controller, High Point. I've got this highlighted in orange. You said you wanted discussion on this?
Well, I questioned it. You got 7,000 there for that one pump, but you got 21,000 total.
Tim, can
Well,
you explain
we
that?
did, earlier this year, we replaced a pump and a motor, and that's what that number was. We've got to replace that, we found out, now that we have to replace the controller, and I think that's 100-year building.
Okay.
A few weeks ago, I found the same situation directly across the parking lot, pump, motor, controller.
So let me ask a question. If you replaced a pump, motor and controller, does that cover it? Look up there. Where I just highlighted it. That doesn't sound like enough. Did we not get that covered in this? On 8/26, the year to date, the estimated in the total for 2021. Is that right?
I don't think I'm gonna have my controller this year. We already spent, I don't know where that may have been coded, because I spent money on a pump and a motor,
Who'd you pay?
Odessa pump,
Um,
that year to date may be inaccurate. I don't know where.
That's
it
what I'm
went, but
questioning.
we
I'm
had-
questioning, I'm
we had-
questioning, I'm questioning, I'm highlighting 3 cells up there, and that's the ones I'm questioning right now.
Okay, we'll look at that. That's line 10.
Oh, I can find it right now where Odessa was paid. I'm searching here, sorry.
Right, that's what we're here for. Get this thing right.
In May, you spent, we put it in auxiliary pump fire suppression, 830.14.
Oh, under unplanned.
Yeah, that's 35,1917.
Oh, okay, so it got put down here. Well,
We can move that to,
Yeah, well, we should move that up there.
that should be moved up to
okay, I'm changing that right now to what account number?
826.
826. Oops.
So what's year to date for 826 now?
Hang on. Capital. Refresh. $4,591.02.
I don't do cents.
Okay,
4591. Okay, now I can delete this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right, so back to this 826. So 4591's been spent. No more spending November and December?
No.
Okay, so it's done. So again, if we're doing one more pump, motor and controller at 7,
The 4591 only includes pump and motor.
okay, so a pump, motor and controller is 21,000,
Well, I've got to do 2 controllers, 1 pump and 1 motor.
and that's 21,000.
That's gonna be 21 grand.
Okay.
I'm still getting pricing. I don't have a hard bid on them yet.
Okay. I was really hoping we could cut
Yeah, me too. I was hoping that was a typo.
that. Yeah, something else we could, yeah, okay. Signage, okay, here's another one. This is the agreement we have with Glacier to pay half and half on 2 of those new rock face signs. One out at the entrance road off of Highway 550,
Where you turn
where you
south.
turn south to Gamble Oak, that little tiny monument, that tiny gravestone sign goes away and gets replaced by one like we have in our parking lot now. And then down, and then up to the north off Tamaron Drive, where the junction with Glacier Club Drive is. That little monument sign goes away and that gets replaced with the sign that says High Point Maintenance
Right.
Glacier Club. And that's about a $25,000 ticket. And we agreed to go half and half with Glacier on that.
Correct.
hang on a second, Joe. Jerry, are you the one asking about being muted? Someone sent me a message. Is that,
Let me,
Okay, someone just sent a text email asking if they're muted from 5:05. Mute him again.
Would that be John?
Yeah, I guess if it's someone who's muted, they won't be able to tell us.
Yeah.
So are we seeing everybody up there or not? Oh, there's 2 pages. Okay.
It's like a text email, so all it is the phone number, 5:05.
So is John not there now because he's,
Oh, could be John.
John's right there, yeah.
John's right there.
oh, now he's there. Okay.
Well, if you send an email
Oh, he's
to,
in 2 places. That's it. Okay.
to Elisa asking if you're muted, the answer is yes, you are muted.
Everybody's muted.
So,
If a board member wants to chime in, they need to unmute themselves and speak. Is that right?
Yes.
that is correct.
Okay.
All right, continue.
So on the signage, any discussion on that? I mean, we've pretty much agreed in principle with Glacier on that. So I don't think we want to renege on it.
No, no.
Unplanned capital expenses, most years we've been able to keep it at this number. I don't suggest, I mean, we blew way past it, spent almost $52,000 this year on these unplanned projects. No reason to think we'll do that again next year. Most normal years, we've kept it pretty well under control. We're always going to have things that we don't know about today and come up next summer, and we have to spend money on. That's why we put this unplanned capital expense budget in here.
Joe, excuse me, this may be a
Yeah.
question for Tim. Why didn't we know about the large heat tape expense this year?
Tim can speak to that.
Last fall, when we started, we go underneath the buildings. What was I doing? Oh, we were trying to, there are plugs underneath the buildings, and we found a heat tape that didn't have a plug on it. So I had an electrician go underneath.
Didn't have a
the
plug or
building.
didn't have a ground?
It didn't have a plug on it.
Didn't have a plug on it at
It
all.
had been an abandoned heat tape
Oh,
that
okay.
was left in place.
Okay.
So I had a licensed electrician come in, and when he looked at what was going on, none of the heat tape circuits were on protected breakers. It was a significant fire damage, and we had heat tape that had burnt. So we had to go in and remove and reinstall heat tape underneath all the buildings in Gamble and Pinecone. And now, and that includes putting in protected breakers in the boxes.
It was a necessary fire safety.
Yeah, it was scary.
Why it wasn't ever addressed previously, Jerry, I can't answer that question. But it's something that came up and we couldn't ignore it.
Right, so is there any possibility of having that kind of a problem in any of the other areas, in particular at High Point, that we should anticipate and inspect and gear up for?
High Point doesn't have heat tapes.
No,
High Point has enclosed the underneath of the buildings in High Point is not like Pinecone and Gamble Oak. They're enclosed and heated. They're area heated to prevent freeze ups. So we're covered now on that.
we're safe.
Are there any other surprises? We don't know what we don't know. Improve area, north area of the lodge. We did the landscaping work up there. And we believe that, I mean, we could do more with that area, put a gazebo or something like that up there, but we think in terms of what we're gonna have to do with this budget, it's probably not a smart thing to put something in there. So we're gonna delete that one for this year. Major improvements to landscaping. We completed this line item. There's a line item down in new projects for discussion that we'll get to in a moment. Irrigation upgrades, same thing. Maintenance, renovation of the maintenance office, done, goes away. Storage lockers, the new storage lockers on the second floor above the owner storage area, that's done, goes away. Remodel of the admin areas, real estate office, etc., done. By the way, I stopped in the real estate office for a moment, and Julie Glenn said to me, "Have you talked about us moving out by the front desk?" I claimed ignorance. I kind of hinted that maybe there wasn't going to be much support for that, and kind of left it there. So you guys probably haven't heard the end of it. Somebody's going to ask you. Not going to happen, right?
We talked to Rick about it yesterday. He said we would discuss it at the board. He told us to tell them we would discuss it.
At the board meeting? Okay, so you talk about it tomorrow. All right. Lawn equipment,
On a mower.
bottom mower, we're done. We're pretty much up to speed on our equipment now. Parking lot repairs and lodge striping. That's done. We used to do the rotating thing with the resealing of the parking lots.
Yeah, and I met with the seal coat guy,
Yeah,
and it depends on what your schedule for replacement is. High Point's in really good shape. I've got to do some Band-Aids on the lodge parking lot because I've got to get another 7 years out of this parking lot. Just a blanket rotate every year was kind of a waste of money.
was it?
Yeah, so you really need to strategize where you're going to spend your money. We are going to have to seal coat the lodge building in order to get another 7 years out of this lodge,
The lodge parking lot,
the lodge parking lot. We also have some crack fill.
but not next year though.
What's down in the wish
Oh,
list.
is it down in the wish list? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we've gone away from the rotating every fourth year.
Your
to a-
scheduled replacement has to drive what you do between today and that date, not just annual.
All right. Purchase of company vehicles. This is our debt service on the financing costs for the 3 vehicles we bought. So that'll carry over to next year. Landscaping per 2017 Glacier agreement. This is an item we've been carrying for years. And we kind of figure that this signage deal is going to cover that, and we're done with it. We're not going to carry it anymore.
I was always enough.
This is something that goes back to the 2017 agreement with Glacier, where we gave up the lease on the pool and fitness area and got the golf club membership and golf access back again. And included in there was some agreement to enhance the landscaped areas at the entrance way to the lodge. And there was going to be a landscaping plan that was going to be submitted by Glacier, was going to happen that fall. It didn't happen the next fall. So 2017, 2018, 2019. Well, it's almost 2022 and nothing's ever happened on that. So statute of limitations, bye-bye. Security cameras. We're done with the security camera upgrades.
Yep.
So we're complete on that. Lodge drain plumbing. You want to talk about this a little bit, Tim?
I think we ought to,
Wait, defer till tomorrow?
well,
Or no?
until we have, I don't think we ought to talk about it at all, till we have information. because
I agree.
we really don't know what we're talking about.
Okay, so this is this year. We're not putting anything, we've got it down below, so
Yeah.
we'll cover it then. And then contribution to reserves, and this is a number we plug in to meet certain levels of reserves, and I've got this yellow highlighted, and I'm gonna leave it there because I think we're gonna have to discuss that tomorrow,
Yeah.
once we've got all through this and we've done all the puts and takes we're gonna do. That's a number right there that's gonna get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a number we can adjust.
Okay. So now here we're down to the new project, the proposed new projects for 2020. It should say 2022. Huh, I did not catch that before. All right. So,
And the same with the column above.
Greg
Got
Collins,
2020. So
oh,
it should say
okay,
2021.
yeah.
is Greg Collins in the,
He was, he
Zoom?
was. I don't know if
Yeah,
came
He said
back.
he'd be in, and he said he would.
Yep.
There
he's
he is.
here, There he
There
is.
he
Still
is.
Oh,
All right, so new projects for 2022. So you're thinking we just pull this completely?
the top one, yes.
Yes.
I'm happy to do that. Now, this line is the engineering, planning, bidding, getting firm fixed price bids by what, next spring?
I think the schedule from our meeting we had, was it last week or the week before? Their
You were in on
schedule
that
at that
meeting,
time was
yes.
pushing into third quarter of this year. Before. we
Third
even
quarter
get-
of this year?
Yeah.
Third quarter. We're already
We're
in the fourth quarter. of this
I mean,
year.
third quarter of 2022.
Oh, what goes into the third quarter of 2022?
The schedule of delivery of the engineered drawings and the hard bids.
So it's going out like 6 months.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was a shock to me in that meeting.
oh, okay. All right.
But that $144,000 number does not include a piece of testing that we need to do in the lodge. We have to do an asbestos test in the building. The state of Colorado determines how many tests it is. They are getting a proposal from an asbestos testing company in Denver. I don't have the number yet. I just quickly calculated what I think the Colorado might require and what a test costs. And if we needed to put a number in today to add to that, I'd say $7,500.
And let me point out too, that asbestos testing has to be done upfront before any other work can begin, according to the folks in Denver.
The testing has to be done in order to even identify the scope of the work. That can have a huge impact on the total cost of the project.
Okay, I just added 7,500 to that.
Okay, and of that 144, haven't we already paid 21?
We've paid or will have paid 24, this number up here,
In account number 817,
817.
we've spent 24 grand. The engagement was for like, what, 160, something like that,
160. I think.
which includes an allowance for the mechanical engineering firm, which we have not identified, because they're soliciting proposals after we get some testing reports back.
Okay, so that 144 was the balance of what we owed.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so for now, and I'll leave it yellow highlighted because it's a critical area. I'll leave that
Mhm.
like it is.
151.5.
151.5. You're going to get a copy of this when I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. Tim, these are all your, so I'll go each one and let you talk about them.
B purchased a couch and a love seat for us,
Be mad.
B Madden in unit.
She's our furniture buyer now.
Yeah. She had a book club meeting and she wanted a couch. And I said,
She
I
took
can't
over.
guarantee we're gonna pay for that.
She took over for Sandy Ratchford, no?
She brought up Sandy Ratchford in the.
But she did.
Conversation
But
too.
anyway, we talked about it with several of the then sitting board members and they said, that'd be great.
And
Let's
they're
do it."
nice. They
Yeah,
did
they're nice leather
replace a
couches.
nice,
So
worn
this
out
is a
one.
reimbursement. to
This is
her
a
for that?
reimbursement to be, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
which wasn't
Alright.
really planned, but
The next item is the guest service center closers. The doors that go into the rooms with the Pepsi machines and the washing machines, or the closers are tied to the smoke alarm system.
Mhm.
None of them work.
Okay.
We aren't gonna have another inspection for 3 years. So, I mean, it wouldn't be the end of, I don't know how long it's been since they have worked. It's $5,000 to bring them back into code. We're not gonna get in trouble if we don't do it this year,
Unless
but it
we
is
have
gonna have to be
Unless we
done.
have a fire.
Well, I hope they can get out of there. Anyway, it's gotta be spent, whether it's this year or next, I don't care.
Let's defer it to next
Yeah,
year.
let's defer to next year.
Keep it on your list, Tim. I'm deleting it here. Go ahead, Tim. Next item.
Planting. This was an effort to define rebuild of the major planting beds in High Point, Pine Cone, and Gamble. There are different, I mean, High Point's gonna get some big rock, more rock work than the other two properties. But there, Taryn and I and Lisa developed detailed lists of the plantings, of the volume of mulch, of the prep work, of the rock work. This number does not include, I've got the labor for us to do this work in my salaries
Yeah,
line item.
which is where it should be.
So this is where, this is the 35,000.
This is
bucks.
materials.
I forget how many hundreds of shrubs and trees and plants.
Well, I get the rock.
Yeah.
I get the mulch. I don't know about the trees and more shrubs. My opinion is, and I've harped on landscaping all summer long, is that we need to better maintain what we have and spend the effort there than put in more stuff to maintain. That's my thought. I think the landscaping we have was poorly maintained this year.
Rick had a good point. Was it yesterday when we were talking about the different areas?
Yeah, what I'm thinking is we've already taken out the beds up in High Point.
Mhm.
Let's go ahead and do High Point and defer the other areas and see how it turns out, how we like it, and then we can go from there.
As long as the other areas are better maintained than they were. I want a commitment that they're better maintained than they
Right.
were last year.
Right. Yeah, and I'm talking solely about what here, we're talking solely about new stuff. So
Tim, is there a way you can break that down?
based off
Yes, I do.
your breakdown, that'd be 16,890.
Oh, he's already figured it out.
I was looking for that breakdown. I couldn't
Yeah.
find it.
It'd be 16,890 for High Point.
That's what the number should be there.
Is that okay? Is there,
I'm fine with that. I don't have a complaint about what our landscaping looks like in Pine Cone. I just want it maintained better.
right?
Our
and if
planter
we-
beds got full of weeds, they got overgrown,
Mhm.
the bushes were overgrowing the grass out
Yeah.
onto the parking lots.
Yep.
I mean, ridiculous.
Yeah,
That-
so
that-
if we are able to just do one brand new area, and then our staff will be able to maintain the other two.
Let's go with High Point, and then we'll see on the other areas. I know there are some owners that want some other stuff too.
Sure.
You gonna change that?
Rick,
to-
though, is
Can we
is
get
there,
in-
if we're doing certain planting or whatever at High Point, is there a way that we can do that, at Gamble Oak or at Pine Cone? And we might save some money on whatever we do rather than just focus on High Point.
Well, what I'm
Make-
saying is, let's go ahead and do High Point and see how things turn out, see what we like and stuff, and then we can do the other areas. I mean, for the other areas in the lodge, we're looking at 18,280. So we cut that in half. We could do that. You know, we've got this 144,000 that we're having to pay for this estimate on the, you know, we'll have more money next year.
We need to, this
Well-
is a savings thing and a staff
Yeah,
thing.
Okay.
So can Tim distribute to the board then that detailed estimate so that we get a better sense of what all that entails?
yeah. I can forward it to you. I've got it. I can forward it to you.
Rick, would you want a sense of the committee now, or should we save it for tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
So you want to change this number to what? 16 what?
890.
All right. Tim? Next item?
You know, given the unknowns for the next year, I would recommend we get rid of or defer replacement of the entrances.
I agree. Rick?
Yes, I agree.
Anybody else?
The next line. I'm really torn about this, the lodge parking lot, because there's some pretty good cracks, and when water gets into the cracks, it starts to deteriorate faster.
Water
I
gets in the
really-
cracks and
I
freezes.
really
makes
need
holes.
to do some crack fill,
Okay,
and I wanted to do seal coat on the lodge.
okay.
I think I'd probably take the seal coat out of next year for the lodge, which I'll have to get the number because this includes crack fill twice and the seal coat. I can't remember the number,
Crack fill twice.
but I think that goes
Why?
down.
Crack fill twice, why?
Down at Gamble.
Oh,
I've got to
okay.
get another 10 years out of that lot.
So you're
My
saying,
guess is that can go down to about $10,000. But we've got to
Why
put,
don't you well, I'll put 10 in now.
Yeah.
And why don't you, I'll leave it highlighted and you can,
verify.
oh, wait a minute, I changed the wrong number. 10.
Tim to verify.
Yeah.
I'll have that today. Defensible space. When I walked the property, the place was in a lot better shape than I had thought. But there are some areas where we've got trees growing on top of buildings, which means we've got to hire tree guys to climb up a tree and trim some branches. Do we have to spend 16? No, I don't, maybe that's 10, but it's not 2.
Irrigation expansion and maintenance.
The committee, landscape committee has some strong opinions about adding irrigation behind buildings in Gamble. Was there some up at High Point too?
I don't live in High Point, so maybe Rick could speak for it, but it looked, my walk said it was a similar situation in the backs toward the fairways. It's just, Sahara Desert. in
And it's-
terms of-
Well,
And that's quite a discussion.
what
because
you gotta
water-
consider, Mark, is that a lot of that area doesn't even belong to us.
Well, I know, it would have to belong to us.
It's, you'd have to look at the plats. It varies. Some people used to say, if you looked out the back deck or anywhere on the 3 outlying areas, if you go out 6 feet, that's it. That's our property line. It's not fixed. It varies.
But just speaking for Gamble, I'm thinking of the area where the tall grass stops and what we maintain starts.
Yeah. Well, what we're maintaining, are we mowing behind the buildings? We are mowing behind the buildings. Then I can guarantee you, I've seen that. We're mowing glacier property.
I know we are in High Point.
Yeah.
But it's just terrible in the summer when they mow it. It's just, you have to close shop because the dirt just blows in it so bad.
Yeah, just making a point, you're talking about irrigating, spending money, irrigating and mowing,
And then buying water.
and then buying the water for area that doesn't belong to us. I know Eric Tibbetts waters all year long behind his unit. And it's not our property.
And it's not efficient to do it with, you know, at when with it.
Also, I shouldn't say all year long, all summer long.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean,
Well, I don't think we have a right to put in irrigation if it's not our property, so.
no, I don't think we would even be allowed to do it. And if we approached Glacier saying, you know, why don't you irrigate this so it looks better, they're gonna go.
Right, it would have to be on our property, and that's a fact you have to figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might want to, I mean, if you're interested in this, you might want to get copies of the plats for all three of the areas. And you can walk, I did it years ago, because we had issues or things that we wanted to look at this for. And I mean, there's some areas where you might be 3 feet past the corner of a building, Glacier's property starts. Or some places it might be 8 feet. Some places it might be 15. It varies. If you look at the way the buildings are built, and then they drew, it goes like
Straight
this.
lines.
And there's stakes in the ground, there's tie points for those property lines, and our property lines are defined that way. And, you know, and the plats are there. I think I gave you copies of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so Tim's got them in the office.
So it's worth a look.
You should go look at them.
It's worth a look.
Yeah.
Well, I would say unless there's new and compelling information, this doesn't make any sense to me per what Joe just said.
Yeah. Either way, we would need to defer it this year. We just don't have the money this year.
So delete that.
Yeah.
Okay, we knocked quite a bit out of that capital budget. I don't know what the net effect's gonna be when we get to the bottom line, but we did make a dent. So let's go to permanent reserves. Well, I'll just make some commentary on this. The beginning balance this year was 618,000. How we get made? Oh, okay, yeah. So all said and done, we've moved our reserves quite a bit this year from 613,000 to 824,000. Starting off with 818. Why are these two numbers not exactly the same? I don't know. Why aren't they?
Where,
This one and this one. If the total estimated at the end of this year is 824,659,
maybe we changed some numbers there and never moved it over to the,
could
so
be,
that should be 824.
I would think it
Yeah,
would.
yeah, that's a hardwired number you put in for the 2022 budget instead of
Yeah.
copying it from some.
Yeah, probably after I added the.
Yeah, okay, so that's
Never
gonna change a few things. And, you know, it's gonna make a little bit of a difference. These four numbers right here comprise our contributions to reserve in a given year. Or what they're proposed to be this year. Our interest on our investments, which keeps going down because interest rates are going down. But who knows, with everybody's talking about inflation now, they might start to go back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't checked with our bank, the two banks that we have our CDs in, but I might do that tonight, get online and see what their current rates are and see if things are starting to go back up again.
There was something today where they were talking about the Fed has said they will take no action until December 22.
December of 22.
22.
That's interesting.
So, you know,
I don't believe that.
hopefully
I don't believe that
I'll do
either.
that for them, but yeah. I mean, that's just what was reported this morning.
You're listening to CNN, yeah.
So this 145,000 is, if you go back to the first of this meeting, where I talked about the surpluses that we had, you'll notice that number, those two numbers there add up to 145,000. So if we're going to transfer 2021 surpluses directly into reserves, that's where it shows up, is right there. Contribution from capital, again, this number equates to that number. I'll hardwire those together, so when we change this one, it'll change this one. And then 19,500 is the number, the rental revenue that we received from 3 units, 2 units 110 and 114 that we own, that the HOA owns. And then we lease a unit from an owner and then sublet it to an employee, and we make $228 a month on that. Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah. Because we lease it for $650 and then
It's
we,
150.
Yes, I think it's 150.
It's in your,
oh,
It's.
oh, that, okay, yeah,
Cell 8.
yeah, the 228 is.
That's the unit number.
Yeah, okay, after rent paid to 228, right, okay. Yeah, so it's the 150 times 12, yeah. So we get 1,800 from that one, we get 9,600 from one of the other 2 units, and 10,200 from the other 2 units. And I made a note here, and I don't know if we've looked at this yet, but we need to consider other expenses here, like insurance, maintenance, and club dues. Have we deducted that from that 19.5 yet?
those go in there.
Those rents have got to be net after expenses, right?
I'll check that.
I'm going to put a blue highlight on it.
It has to be net. Because it'd be 21,000.
There's only one.
Let's verify that
no,
number.
there's two. Okay.
Let's verify that number before tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And then, so these, and I'm gonna pontificate a little bit here. So these 4 numbers add up to the amount we put into reserves. So that totals up to, you can see down here that those 4 cells total up to $290,000. If you look at our total budget, which is 2.5 million, because of, I'm sorry, 2.7 million. 2.7 million, we can probably drop that down a little bit because 10% of 2.7 million is 270,000. So right now that's this number down here is a little bit higher. It's 290. So we'll make that adjustment before tomorrow. But the point I'm going to make is that we contribute that money, that 10%, to meet minimum Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac requirements so that our owners or our potential owners can borrow money under those federal programs and get them approved. This was the thing that was instituted in our declarations by Scott Gillen. So it's a little bit of smoke and mirrors, because then we turn around and we take out 275,000. You can see this year, we took out 238. We contributed this year 444,000. That's a lot. Where did we get that high? Anyway, and we took out 238.
And I think that 275 is
That's a plug number. That's
the number we need to relook at.
we need to relook at that number too. So I'm going to put a highlight on that. But again, so you take out 290, you put in 290, you take out 275. That's why our net, why we went net from 613,000 all the way up to 824 this year. But we start with 824 this year, next year, and we only end up with a net of 839. We haven't raised the reserves all that much for 2022 because we drew this much out to try to keep the budget in line. So we've got a rock and a hard place we're dealing with.
So I hate to raise this issue, but I think we need to. To what extent, if any, should reserves contributions try to help us with the expected expenses with all of the plumbing replacement?
That's a good point.
Because it seems
Well,
normally,
that's why-
if we had anticipated that we were coming to the end of useful life of the plumbing, that should have been built into our long-term asset replacement plan previously. But we just didn't know it or anticipate it. And now it's going to nail us. So is there anything that we can do with reserve contributions to help with that at all? Or is that kind of moot and we have to look at some other way to cover costs?
Well, we have kind of done that by deducting this 275 and putting it in, putting it towards, it's actually right there. So we actually have done that. We've created a revenue stream, which is a deduction from reserves. Those two numbers match. I should.
Right, but Joe, but it doesn't say where the 275,000 is going to be applied.
No, it doesn't, but it still helps to get this bottom line. Once we do the owner's assessments, it helps to get this bottom line to zero. I mean, it's
Yes,
it's the bucket of money. It's the bucket of money theory.
sure. And all it does, it reduces the amount that we have to collect from regular assessments
Correct.
by that amount.
So, I mean, if you look at what we did this year, 2021, if I recall the conversations we had, and I know Eric was a driver of this last year, was bump up, get the reserve, let's get our reserves, move them up. We only have 600,000, let's get it up there. So what we did is we budgeted and effectively raised our reserves over $200,000 in 2021, from 613,000 and change to 824,000 and change. Because of the situation we're in with everything, including that 151,000 that we have to put towards this engineering for this plumbing replacement project, we start our reserves at 824 and change next year, but we're only able to increase it by a very small amount up to 839,000 at the end of 2022. So we have effectively used reserves because by how much we've put in and how much we've taken out.
Yeah.
Any other discussion on that for now?
the the 120 we may look at.
This one here.
Because, yeah, because you started to allude to it about the 10%
Yeah,
for that. And our understanding right now is Fannie's not making these loans. So do we need to maintain the 10% contribution?
Julie Glenn says that right now, right, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have pretty much turned their back on these kinds of loans right now. They're, because of the market, because units are, because properties, real estate is selling like crazy. They're able to, you know, most their in-house loans are covering it. What is it? The loans that they don't broker out.
Conventional loans.
Conventional loans.
Yeah.
Anyway, portfolio loans, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, if we make a decision, if the board makes a decision to fall under that 10%, then anybody who does come and say, okay, show me your numbers, show me what you're doing, because I've got this loan for this person and I'm deciding whether I want to approve this loan. And they come to us and say, what are the numbers? And we say, well, we contributed 6% to reserves this year, not 10. They could shoot down that loan.
So Joe, I know that Scott put a lot of effort into getting things set up to satisfy Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. The question is, if we drop below the 10% and then we want to comply with those requirements in the future, how much work is going to be required to get it restated? Can we simply up our reserve contributions to meet it? Or do we have to go through a lengthy process like what Scott went through before to get us to where we are now?
No, I mean, the only thing that would reverse what Scott did, the only thing that would reverse what he did is going back and rechanging our declarations to not be in compliance. I mean, can we discretionarily say, nope, we're not going to meet that 10% this year because of for whatever the reasons are, and cast fate to the wind and if someone, you know, if Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac do decide somewhere during 2022 to start funding loans for condo associations like ours, there's the risk that any loan that's applied for could be rejected because of our current budgeting for the year 2022. 2023, we could go back and meet that criteria yet again and then be in compliance, and they wouldn't be able to reject someone's loan based on how we budgeted. So that's the scenario.
Yeah, no, I understand. It's too bad Scott isn't on with us. I'd like to hear his perspective also, but yeah.
Shoot him an email tonight.
Okay.
Ask him, tell him what we're thinking and see what his thoughts are. He's closer to this than anybody else because it's his day-to-day business.
Yeah.
Well, and that discretionary amount of the 120, I mean, we'll have to see where it shakes out in the bottom to see if we want to make an adjustment there. So we can move on.
Okay, service and security desk. So the bucket of revenues for service and security desk are, we keep the beginning balance on this account here. And it's, let's see what we got here. All right, here again, Elisa, we got 15,046. But,
Not.
but we got a beginning balance of 25. Can we verify that? Didn't we have,
Well, this came.
we had some, no, we've got a, our balance sheet has a,
Uh-huh, and
has
that's
an
probably
account.
part of it.
yeah, so there's money from past years there.
Mhm.
Okay, let's verify what that is. And get it, I think in past years, what we've said is, we know we've got this surplus from the front desk operations.
Mhm.
Let's not use it all in 1 year.
Yes, and that's what these numbers, the 25,000 is a, formula that Sandy, my mom, developed, and it doesn't, these estimated expenses, that's part of it. But it's also what's been left over from previous years.
From previous years, yeah.
use And,
Okay,
um,
so that's what that is.
Yeah.
All right, so we're good there.
and even leaving a little cushion in the bank account just in case.
Right, right. In case there's a,
And we do that for every
Right.
account, every number.
yeah. Okay, let's see, so I'll skip this second line and come back to it. So 460 is all of the the portion that we get of the fees that are charged for the resort fee, which is currently what, $30, and then we get a piece of that. Most of it goes to Glacier. Have we factored into this number that they are probably going to raise that 3% next year? I can guarantee you they're going to raise it 3%.
I reached out to see if they knew what the increase would be, and they didn't get back to me. They didn't know what their increase
It'll
would
be 3%.
Yeah, they'll go up 3%.
It's what the
But
contract,
it
it's what
did-
the agreement allows. It's what they'll do.
But that number did include that.
It does include
increase.
that. Okay, good. We also garner a fee from long-term renters, a monthly fee. Are these numbers still good? 14 long-term renters, 87 short-term?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I did ask the board to consider increasing the long-term renter and the short-term renter, raising that to $50 a month and $35 a month for 2022.
And are those numbers reflected yet in
Yes,
here?
yes.
They are, okay.
Right now it's 45 and 30, so.
Okay, so that'll be when the board votes on this budget, that's something that they'll be considering. Because right now that's the numbers that are in there. Okay, so administrative expenses. Heather Dawson's involvement in our operation has been reduced to the point where she's basically just managing her own inventory. So we're discontinuing her contractual cash compensation this next year. We've already put a contract in front of her, contract revision in front of her for 2022, and she's agreed in principle to that, right?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
100% agreed to it.
Yeah.
She hasn't
And-
signed it, but
Yeah. So she'll no longer get cash compensation. What she will get is exclusive use of the laundry facilities and housekeeping spaces. And that's her compensation for managing our in-house rentals. Marketing, we decided to drop the Durango Discovery Map. That's what that $1,500 was, being identified on it. If Heather wants to do that, she can do it. Administrative services and supplies. Front desk pays a portion of our IT contract. And then there's also Bookerville and our registration insurance. Bookerville is our in-house, the way we account for who's here and who's not,
Reservation, yes.
Yeah.
system.
reservation system. Which is now which we did that so that we're independent from Heather's system. Office equipment. Yeah, this big number went way over budget on this because what was it, about a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
The key card system, the key card computer at the front desk failed. And we couldn't make keys. How did you guys manage to get past that? It's a good thing it happened in the shoulder and not in the middle of the summer. Yeah.
Are you gonna replace that reader? You were talking about that a couple weeks ago. Do we want to do that next year?
If we want to consider replacing the actual reader, so we replace the computer that makes the keys or that programs the keys,
Programs the keys.
the little dip thing,
Yeah,
that's another $5,000.
5,000 for that little box is
Yeah.
$5,000.
And it's old and it could,
Yeah, if it fails, we're out of business for however many days it
Well,
takes to get
one of the things that when this all happened, when we talked about it, one of the things I asked was that the current computer, do we know what the failure was?
the
Because
power
Power
supply.
something. the power supply.
Yeah.
So that computer can be
And it,
repaired and then used as a backup.
It is.
So it is, it's in my office.
So it already
safely.
has the new power supply in it. So you did that. Good. So we really do need a backup for the key card reader, for the card,
The dip
the
card,
dip
yeah.
machine.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I mean, that would be.
Is that
Are they
all?
available on the resale market? I mean, have you looked?
I don't know. If you've looked in,
That's a good something to ask, something to look into.
I mean, you know,
since
if,
they're
we-
proprietary, can you do that, I wonder? If they,
Well, yeah, I don't know. If you get it on the resale market, it's just as old
yeah.
as
Yeah.
what we've got.
God, that thing's gold. Is it gold plated or what?
That's that's exactly
Mr.
what we
Honorary
said.
loves
Yeah.
these things.
Jeez, boy, they know they got you.
Yeah.
You know where.
Mhm.
Good Lord. Well, what do we want to do? Do we want to buy a new one and then have the old one for a backup so that we don't have a failure?
I mean,
We've seen what happens if that system fails.
it would be terrible if that happened during ski
Mhm.
season or during the summer. So if we can, yes,
If it doesn't put us crazy.
crazy over, yeah.
Okay,
I
so-
absolutely concur. I think it's
Yeah.
imperative that we have a backup system in place.
How much money do we have in that? How much money do we have in the bank in that surplus account for
37,000, yeah. 37,000.
37,000?
Stayed there for,
So let's take it out of there.
Yeah.
I've got a question about that. And I've never even seen this magical box that's worth so much money. So pardon my ignorance of the topic, but if we bought a backup now and we didn't need it for, let's say, 3 years, is there anything that might change technology wise that would render our backup unusable? I mean, is this the kind of thing that gets, of course, my dog's bark now, sorry about that. But is this the kind of thing that the equipment and technology are updated periodically with each other? In which case, if there's some sort of update, the box that's sitting on our shelf will be out of date and we wouldn't be able to use it?
we could make sure, but it's, the one we have is, I think, 10 years old.
Well, we would put the new
Yeah.
one at the front
That's
desk
right.
and use it.
Right away.
And it's under warranty and it'd be supported for however long.
Okay,
The old
Okay,
one,
good.
the old one would become the backup. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think we definitely need this. We can't have a shutdown of the whole rental program.
The
Well,
other,
Stacy, it's not just the rental program. It's anybody. You wouldn't be able to make keys for the entire property.
This happened right before the master keys expired. I mean, we were on the edge of
Mhm.
being totally
Yeah, it's a good thing
dysfunctional.
you still had usable master keys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's make sure we don't have this.
Sounds good.
There's another thing. I mean, it might make sense. How often do you rekey your master keys?
Once a month.
Once a month.
So I've got
Maybe
a,
you want to do it every 2 weeks.
I've got.
Or
a-
no, or
I've got a-
extend them
Yeah.
longer. Extend them to 60 days.
I've got some thoughts about that, like having one like major
Mhm.
master that's locked away somewhere
For a year.
that's
Yeah.
not
Because you can
expired.
make them for up to
Yeah.
a year,
Because
right?
the
We
reason
made
we
one-
make them expire in a month is if someone quits and takes it with
Takes the
them.
key with them, right?
Or,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
other security reasons.
that's a good idea. You know, there's a thought. Make a half a dozen keys
Mhm.
and keep them in a locked box and have them for a
Don't
year
expire.
and have them good for a year. Huh?
We just put one in the Knox box for the fire department that doesn't expire.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Doesn't expire.
I have ability to make more of those.
I would make more of those and just keep them in a locked box for emergency purposes. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
do that.
maybe my key is good for 2 months. Or, you know, and I lock that away, but we've got some ideas. Now, going back to this, what if we purchase that key machine in 2021? Does
If you
that make
take
any-
it, you've got the money.
Well, this 37,000 that I just.
Well,
said is in the
what you're
account,
gonna do is,
That's already accounted for on our balance sheet. It's
okay.
in
This-
operations. I was gonna try to. change it.
Rick, there's $37,000 in the bank
Mhm.
that's designated as, and it's in a is it a separate account or just a
It's,
separate
just
line item?
Separate line item,
Separate line item.
but it is in the total of that beginning balance.
Yeah,
Okay.
So this 25,000 here is taken from that 37. See, so the end of this year, we have 15,000 left over. That would be added to the 37, would it not?
We haven't done that in several years, but I can now. I
So
think the intent of this
So-
account was for Heather. to-
correct me if I'm wrong. So we have a $15,000 surplus
Mhm,
this year,
mhm.
potentially. So this $25,000 here is comprised of that 15,000 plus approximately 10 that's in the bank.
And another little bit of cushion just in case.
Yeah, so you still would end up with $27,000 left in the bank.
Mhm.
So either way, you could up this number by $5,000 and cover the cost of the key reader, the key maker.
Yeah.
The dip machine, whatever you call it. Oh, and then that would effectively reduce this number by that 5,000 down to about 10.
Mhm.
And you'd have the same net effect as pulling that amount. And if you left this 25 the way it was, then you'd have the same net effect on the bank balance. You'd just be pulling more, 5,000 more out of the bank balance. So I say, yes, buy it now.
Okay.
Done.
Okay.
Okay, so ski shuttle. So the new deal with Purgatory is a fixed fee, not a pay per ride, and it's $5,000.
Yes.
Personnel expenses, salaries. So we gave some raises. We've got some raises in place for next year.
Yes.
So our next year's salary level is at 151.
Yes.
The employee benefits, we budgeted 13,000. We only spent 2120. What was that about?
There's, nobody took
Nobody took it.
but this year they will,
They will. Okay.
or somebody will.
All right.
2 people?
Well, one now.
Okay. only
So
one.
this number needs to go up to the 4692. That's not a raise in the rates for insurance, it's still a lowering of the rates for insurance. It's just that last year we didn't spend anywhere near the budget.
Okay, and that includes the IRA
Yeah,
money.
Yeah, it did.
Simple.
Yep.
How much, how much of
I'm
that is
looking for
health
it.
insurance? Sorry. Bless you.
and then payroll tax and workers' compensation, again,
Kayla
their
and Christine,
percentages.
3% raise.
No. health
So
insurance.
now I
Oh,
need to,
Well, without Christine, it's just Kayla, $349.
Do you know what the health insurance is what I'm saying? No. Portion of
New
that.
rate for 2022.
It's 460. Oh, so that doesn't include,
No, we need to add $350 to that.
Joe,
huh?
you need to add $350
You
to.
just screwed up my calculation. All right, it's okay. What
We,
number?
the
needs-
bright, the health insurance, employee benefits, we need to add the simple contribution,
Okay,
$350.
$350 to that.
4692 plus 350, what is that?
Let me see.
You gotta calculate.
350 plus 4, 6, and 2. It is 5,042.
Okay. And so. I'm doing some calculating off to the side here in case anybody's wondering why nothing's happening. Okay. So I said I was going to come back to this number later. So after all said and done, what I just did was did the calculation to bring this number to 0. So it's a balanced budget. So this line here, when you take all the other revenues and then you look at the expenses, this number here is set at whatever it takes to get the budget to balance. And right now that's 57,868. Last year it was 52,175. And that number appears here. Over, hang on a second.
It's 560.
560.
Yeah. 560. And I need to change that because I haven't linked those two cells yet, but I'm gonna link them. 57,868. All right. Save this whole thing.
So Joe, instead of writing it in, why not just do a direct link, make it equal to that other cell, so it will always remain linked in
Is there
case.
an echo in? Is there an echo in here? I just said that, Jerry. You didn't hear me?
Oh, sorry, Joe, I wasn't.
That's
paying-
okay.
Good idea, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry, good idea.
Joe knows his spreadsheets. I will say that.
I'm impressed.
I am too.
Yeah, I said I need to link those
I
cells and
want
I'm
you
gonna
to
link a
teach me
couple
how to
other
do
ones
that.
too.
I like that.
What's that?
I want to know how to do that.
What, the linking of the cell?
Mhm.
Simple. I'll show
It
you.
usually is, you just gotta know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me do a quick calculation here. So, no, that can't be right. Wrong calculation. Hmm.
Officially tomorrow. And then it's in the discussion. Changing. Think about it.
Huh. How was that happen?
I think the discussion will come up today.
It raised the percentage. I don't know, something may not be right. I missed something somewhere. Have to go through it and look. Anyway, huh?
Another scrub.
Yeah. So anyway, after what we just did, so this number, which is what it will take to 2,252,939, which is what it'll take in this cell to balance the budget. Something's missing. Because that's not that much different from last year's 2,252. It's actually less than. I'm gonna have to go through this and figure out where we missed something. Something didn't get done right.
And I also have a different, I think something is different on mine, on the operations side. I don't know if that's the problem, but
Where is it? Tell me.
operations, let's see.
That might be where it is.
Okay, scroll down. I don't, maybe,
Where are you looking?
no, okay, never mind. What about revenue? Go to the revenue page. I saw something when you were there and maybe I was just looking at my page and not yours. Scroll down. 220, okay. And 311, okay. Yeah, never mind. Wasn't me. That wasn't.
Well, we got the capital projects went down to,
Like 75,000.
yeah.
Huh.
Went down 75,000.
So where does that go in here?
They'll have to get back through this.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we've only got. What was it, 100,000?
Well, the budget goes up. The budget actually goes up. Wait, where am I? Maybe that's what I'm doing wrong here.
So Joe, where that would mean that the assessments for 2022 will not be basically any increase over what they were for 2021.
That's what yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
That's what
so we have a little bit of headroom for worrying about things in the future, AKA plumbing.
Yeah, because we're not even 60,000 above what the,
58,630.
yeah.
Yeah, it's 2.2%. So the current raise in budget was based on what we did today. That's what I couldn't believe that before. That's why I thought I calculated wrong.
Yeah.
So what this is right now is 2.2%.
So again, let me ask, would it make sense then to increase the contribution to reserves and take a little bit more of a increase in regular assessments for next year to try to build up to defray some of the cost associated with the expected work that will happen, not necessarily in 22, but in 23 and out years.
Yeah, actually, yeah. assessments would not go up based on what we just went through, and I'm actually surprised that it got to where it did.
Right, but what I'm saying, Joe, is when we have contribution to reserve to put in the budget, right now, it shows that the reserve balance is not changing much projected for 2022. And I thought the reason for that was that the assessments were going to go up too much. But that says to me that now we could afford to put money into reserve contribution for 2022 and tolerate a nominal, increase in regular assessments.
Could certainly do that.
I'd like to hear what other board members think.
Joe,
Yes,
John, hey, I'm not seeing such a small increase in the display that's on my screen. What are you showing me right now?
okay, if you look right now at this line, total expenses for the year.
Okay.
The increase in the total expenses budgeted next year versus what was budgeted last year is 2.2%, 2,722,000 versus 2,664,000. You see that?
I see that.
That's the this number is 2.2% higher than this number.
Got it.
Okay. So that means that right now we would need to put this number 2,252,939 in this position here. Find one that works. There it is.
I think you need to change the sign, Joe. And if you just, you don't copy it, just say equals that cell number. That will make sure that if you change that number over there in the net,
Yeah,
will automatically update your assessments.
I was going to do that linking later, so I wouldn't be doing it in front of everybody, but yes.
Okay. All right.
2252939. I'll just plug the
Yeah.
number in.
So I'm still curious, on that final page, it shows one at 2.7 and change, and then one at 2.52. So if is it 2.7 million or is it 2.5 million?
No,
I don't know what you're asking, John.
so John, I think I know, Joe, John, the 2.7 number is the total expenses. Then you have to subtract off from that the other revenues other than assessments. And that left the net deficit of 2.252939. And so that means that's what needs to be collected in assessments.
Got it.
That number is less than what was collected or 21, according to the 2021 budget number, which was 2,263,609. So again, what I was saying before is that I think all the owners can tolerate some increase in their assessments for 2022 over 2021 to help build up the reserves, to help defray the costs that we know are just going to slam us, that we had not planned for in previous years.
Well, I agree with that in principle. I'm not sure that even a slight increase in the current reserves is going to do much to defray what some people suggest is a multi-million-dollar eventual cost.
I understand, John. I'm just looking for everything that we can do to help mitigate that financial burden that we're about to face.
Yeah, no question. And there may be funding mechanisms that we might explore later, but I think building the reserves is never a bad idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd agree with that as well. I like that philosophy.
What
So-
can the owners tolerate in a increase? I mean, I
I
think,
like that philosophy too.
Yeah, so,
I mean, I guess
Joe-
I would say there needs to be a balance between preparing for the future and,
Well,
um,
but John, but the argument that we can make is pay us now or pay us later.
no, I get it. I
And
guess what I'm
and
saying
spread
is
it
that
out
I-
over a longer time, makes it
Yeah.
less painful.
Yeah, I totally understand. I guess, it needs to be something that makes sense to owners when they are, when they question it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we're gonna have to be, we're gonna have to be explaining things to the owners. I think more and more about these impending costs we're gonna have.
Yeah, no question.
But we may not even know till third quarter of next year. I mean, I understand the building of the reserves, but for this project, we may not even know until September of next year.
So if we took Jerry's point and did a nominal increase in HOA fees for next year, and raised them 3%, which seems to be
Index.
it's the index, maybe even going higher than that now, but if you raise them a nominal 3%, that would mean that this number here would be 2331517. And then you come back over here, we could add another 78,000 to reserves contribution and have a balanced budget.
What did we raise it in last year?
5.4%.
Okay.
How much?
What was that? How much what?
How much did we raise assessments last year?
About 5%. It was the biggest raise we've had in ever that I can remember.
And it caused an outcry.
So,
Have we looked at every possible expense? I was having some trouble communicating earlier. Just a couple things I wonder about, and I appreciate Tim's concern about the fogged windows, but I've had a fogged window for 15 years. Could we suspend that for a year? And I realize there would be disappointed owners, but that's what, $18,000. Does anybody feel like we could look at some of the expenses again, just to make sure?
Break for lunch and do it.
I'm waiting for other board members to speak.
I mean, do you guys want to do that? You want to take a lunch and come back and look at expenses again?
I don't know if we really need to do that. I think, it's, if we want to try to get through the year without, raising any of the HOA fees, that's one philosophy. If we want to plan for the future and try to be as, proactive as we can, as Jerry suggested, that's the other one. Because I think at this stage of the game, whatever we're finding in the budget, it's not going to be any big expenses. This thing's been combed over pretty good.
Yeah, no, Greg, I agree with you. It would really be, frankly, it would be nickels and dimes. And perhaps, given the bigger picture, that would not really amount to much for us.
But it's a great, it's a good way to approach it, because sometimes, you find something here or there, and, the other part of it is that I think, I don't know this for sure, but I know most owners are aware that there's gonna be something that has to be done, with the plumbing in the lodge. And, the discussion, pay me now or pay me later, that project is coming. So it's more of a philosophical, because we're gonna have to come up with those funds one way or the other.
Right, and those, I
And
think,
the more I'm talking, I'm kind of convincing myself, it's like, because I first went into this, it's like, I don't want to raise any of the fees. Let's kind of give everybody a break. And by the same token, 2% is so nominal. And I think of those folks that own multiple units. You want to try to take into account everybody that you can, but a 2% so that we can put stuff in reserve and be better prepared for what we do know is coming. I think that's a pretty responsible approach, actually.
Does the option we're looking at right now, is that figured at 2% or 3%?
Joe suggested 3.
I've got 3% plugged in.
And Joe, that 3% was on the 2021 assessments, right? Not on the original 2022 assessment.
Right, that was increasing 2021's 3%.
Increasing what we're paying now, 3% for next year.
Got it.
And that 3% increase, what did you say? We think we were going to garner about 78,000 otherwise without the 3%.
No, by raising them 3%, by raising the dues 3%, we, at the budget as currently constructed, would have a $78,278 surplus, which that amount could be applied to the reserve contribution. You could do it one of two ways. You could either up this number by 72,000, or you could reduce this number by that amount. It would have the same net effect.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, that clarifies. Now, Joe, I presume you're going to clean all this up and send it to us again this evening?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
I'm just not in favor of raising dues.
You don't have to make the decision today.
And I agree. I don't like the pushback I get, but that's not my decision, but I'm on your side.
So I guess.
Elisa's the messenger.
I get
She's the messenger that gets shot.
But I got shot last.
Yeah, so I guess we're done for today.
Yeah, and I just want to, I'm sorry, I have a very rowdy puppy here, but that's why I've been on mute. But I just want to say that, no one likes to see a raise, and something that's coming from someone else's pocketbook, as I always say. But I think we also have to look at, obviously, as Greg said, the owners are aware that we have issues. I just went through a full remodel of mine, so I completely understand. But it's just, we've got other issues with just cost of everything going up. We look at meat, we look at milk, we look at everything. The cost of everything is going up. And being mindful of that, I think that people do want to have a nice place, and nobody wants to have any kind of a disaster that's going to be coming with these pipes. So I think that we have to just be aware, but I do think that the owners, again, obviously we don't want to spend more money, but we have to have nice places. That's just my 2 cents.
And I do think we do need to, as soon as possible, embark on some sort of strategic communication plan. We do think owners have some awareness, but there are probably owners that don't.
John,
And
that's a really good point. The sooner the better.
Patient is everything.
Are we done?
Okay,
You want
yeah.
to be done for the day and revisit a few items tomorrow? I think I can identify some things, off on my own. I can identify some things that maybe we could, we're still going to look at this. We still need to look at this insurance deal. Elisa's still going to look at do we still need to calculate in this, if we're going to do 350, that's going to raise this revenue stream a little bit. We haven't, I just want to know whether the 350 is something that seems reasonable at this point.
We increased the exterior maintenance on High Point Gamble. That was gonna be
Yeah,
discussed
these
later.
two items here, you had concerns about those.
Yeah, we could increase those to 20.
Take it back a little bit.
Yeah.
We could do that. I guess that's it. There's a few items we could look at. I'm gonna go through this whole thing again, recheck all calculations, do some linking, do some cell linking and get it ready for tomorrow. So, yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll call it for today. And then we'll pick back up with the board meeting tomorrow at 9. And
Do you need a
That's it.
motion?
You don't know?
No,
This
because
isn't a
it's a
meeting.
workshop.
No,
That's
this
not
is
a meeting.
workshop, it's not a meeting.
yeah, again, and I think we've heard, I'm sure he's heard this before, but Joe does a yeoman job on this stuff and I really appreciate it.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Joe.
I
Here,
was gonna
here,
say the
Joe.
same thing. And
Yes,
not
sir.
only is he doing it now, he's been doing it for years and years and years. He's got this thing down, so it's turnkey, so that we don't have to spend weeks and weeks deliberating it as a board. So he's done a phenomenal job.
Should I turn on my camera and take a bow? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, victory lap.
okay, well, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
Okay.